DRC will be discussed politically. Kenya's President William Ruto and the chairperson of the East African Community has called both Rwanda and DRC presidents to a meeting in Kenya to discuss the situation in the DRC. I am Ondela Mbana for SFM News, headlines at 3:30.
In your sports this hour, Bruce tips Egypt to be favourites of their AFCON group, and Australia's Smith set to pass 10,000 test runs in Sri Lanka. More details at 3:30.
I feel great, I feel nice.
Kasha, what's the goal? We're quelling on the highest, the summer level. What are we? Skim Sam, what's the core? How you go make his squat for Lieto? That far of that Nandi summer content. Charlie says the girl must vuma. It's the core on SABC Plus. Don't miss Skim Sam at 7:30 weekdays only on SABC 1. Zanzi for sure.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the tooth fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does every electrical company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampo on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Amidst misinformation and disinformation, where can we find reliable news? Turn to radio, your trusted source for truthful updates. For over 3 decades, we've upheld integrity as a signatory to the BCCSA Broadcasting Code of Conduct. Count on us for news you can trust. Say no to fake news. Radio, keeping it real since day one. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters. Tune in, trust, and stay informed.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
It certainly is the National Pulse, and my name is Ashraf Garda, and you are a part of the National Pulse because you drive it in so many ways, by listening, by tweeting, by telling your chummies to listen to the show, and then by calling in and sending us the WhatsApp voice notes when you do. So you play an important role, and let me just say up front, I really, really appreciate that. Well, the entire team does. To call in, it's 086 000 2032. And then you have the option to WhatsApp, and you have a text message option or a voice note option, 0614 104 107. And then I mentioned tweets, the hashtag The National Pulse on the X platform. Just tag SAFM Radio and tag me, Ashraf Garda. There's so much to talk about. There's no question about it. We are not going to go away from the DRC because the DRC issue is not going to go away, not quite yet, not just yet for now, isn't it? So let's then get to, we can have two takes on this issue, an update on what's happening in the DRC just now. But for now, we're going to pick up an issue as per the conversation I had yesterday with Malusi Gigaba, right? And if you haven't heard it, the full conversation, please catch it on our podcast. Go to the SAFM website. You listen to the podcast. It's really, really interesting. So let's talk about that and what he said. General Mojo Motawa is with me, the retired South African Army general who served as Chief of Defence Intelligence. General Mojo Motawa, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. How are you today?
I'm very good, and naturally very concerned, about the problems in the DRC, and then concerning our army as well, which I'm sure you would have a lot to say about it. I'll tell you what we'll do first things first. So we had a chat yesterday with Malusi Gigaba, right? And of course, he's speaking from a portfolio committee within Parliament, and spoke about many things that he found problematic with regards to what's happened in the DRC. Specifically, he made the point that he acknowledged the fact that, in fact, South Africa were ill-prepared. The soldiers, that is, that were there, the fighters, were ill-prepared when they were facing the rebels from Goma, and therefore, effectively, were compromised. But this is what he said.
The information that we have at our disposal is that the forces that are deployed in the DRC are not properly equipped with the requisite material they need, the drones, the aircraft, and other equipment that will ensure not only that they are safe, but that they are able to successfully execute the mission for which they've been sent to the DRC. We also want to understand whether they have sufficient tactical and operational intelligence to know when they are being attacked, how they are being attacked, who is attacking them. So the information at our disposal is like that. That they are not fully equipped. But it's a very dangerous mission, given the fact that it involves not only the rebels and the government of the DRC, but it apparently involves other governments of neighboring countries. The M23 rebels are said to be heavily armed with modern equipment. And so our officers, if they must maintain peace, they therefore have to have all the support that they require to.
Okay. Right, let's leave it at that. So let's then get a response from, well, certainly your response as the audience listening in. I want to know what you make of that. And he also said that at that point in time there was no communication between South Africa's army representatives in the DRC, and I suggested it takes more than a few days for a report. I mean, honestly, it should just take a couple of minutes. You could actually have a WhatsApp chat, you could have a call, you could have a Zoom session ASAP if indeed it is that important. But okay, let me not take my word for it. Let's get somebody who certainly knows, General Mojo Montao. You've heard that initial thoughts from Malusi Gigaba. What do you make of it?
No, I think the interview is problematic, particularly coming from a person of his stature and in Parliament. They should have known that our forces have been sent there for a mission which is a mission impossible, I should say, because we have known through the years. I think the Defense Force knows that. Defense intelligence have known it for the years. We're expecting this, that you are not going to sit down there like you are in a nice country where peace must be maintained. There is possibilities of. There is no peace to maintain there. There's no peace to maintain there. We couldn't have gone there with light weapons and say we are going to meet the DRC rebel groups. Mm-hmm. We couldn't have done that. We should have expected that at some point we'll be attacked. And once we are attacked, then we are committed to fight back. And that is what is going to fight back. It's going to be a fight back. That government is going to accept that they didn't support our troops. It's a very dangerous statement to make from government and even from Parliament itself. You see, you can't send troops in that dangerous situation without any provision for reinforcement, for equipment which can be able to be quickly mobilized in order to repel any attack. You can't do that.
So it has happened. I mean, as we know, and you've not only have you said, certainly Malusi Gigaba has certainly confirmed it. And I think even government, different departments have acknowledged that fact. So now that it's happened, I mean, where does the buck stop in this case? I mean, who should be taking responsibility for sending out soldiers, as you calling it, a mission impossible? So sending them to mission impossible were effectively ill-prepared. I used the example yesterday. It's like going to entering a Formula One race with no tires, or rather non-motor racing tires. There's no way you can win that race. Yeah.
No. First and foremost, the leadership of the country take responsibility. They prescribe what mission the Defense Force is going to go to, and it's not the Defense Force which decides to go there. And the Defense Force then has to report back on the plans, and they have to approve the plans or disapprove, So government takes responsibility. The minister is there to take responsibility for resourcing the department.
So you're saying that the Minister of Defense or the President or both?
Both of them are responsible. The President is the chief executive of this company. called South Africa is responsible. And I was shocked. I'm not sure. I hope that report that he actually ended up calling Kagame to force the M23 to go for negotiation. That would be a shocking statement after having lost so many people.
So why would that be shocking? We've certainly heard that apparently Ramaphosa spoke to Kagame. So why are you shocked at that?
I'm shocked that I've been long in this problem. In the early 1998, President Mandela sent a very stern message to Paul Kagame and Museveni. He sent the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alfred Nzo, Minister of Defense, Joe Mlise, accompanied by the chiefs of the intelligence service, Billy Maseka for the civilian, and I was there for the military side. And we delivered that message very clearly. And we have continued to say this. I can reveal that. I went to the United States and told my counterparts there that if this Rwanda continues invading the Congo, which is a SADC country, and we are a major SADC country, then we will not stand idle. We will have to respond, and I'm not sure whether Rwanda will survive.
Okay, so just for point of clarity, you're saying you're shocked that he spoke to Kagame. Are you shocked because are you saying that's the wrong person to speak to? Tactically, it's wrong. If that's the case, why? And who should he be speaking to? The president, that is.
I'm not shocked that he spoke to Kagame. Firstly, speaking to Kagame, that he recognizes that Kagame is part of the problem. I appreciate that. But I'm shocked. What the news says is like it was a diplomatic thing. There was no firmness on the side of our president. We have lost men there. We have lost men. It can't be diplomacy like as usual. It's not business as usual. It's not business as usual. South Africa needs to take stern measures, whether it's against Rwanda itself, whether it's against the M23. We need to make it known that the killing of South African soldiers cannot be taken lightly.
So what for you is stern measures? I mean, give me an example of what would stern measures be for you?
I'm not in the defense force. If I was in the defense force, I would tell you what I was going to be as chief of defense intelligence. We are going to make sure that we attack all the bases where M23 is being trained in Rwanda. All the places where the weapons are being supplied from. Who will destroy them? Who will destroy them? There is no question about the fact that today Kagame is more arrogant than ever before. He can attack South African soldiers. What we saw there, it's not a ragtag army. It was the Rwandan regular forces which attacked our people in the DRC.
Okay, so you say that's a grounds for a South African, effectively a counter-attack, a reprisal to...
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
who is going to respect us? Who is going to respect us when we lose so many soldiers? And we know what the problem is.
Okay, lastly, in terms of the state of our army, there's been lots of conversation about the state of the army. What is your opinion about, and we're talking about the army in general, not just in the DRC, in South Africa, right, our defense force. What are your thoughts about the state of our defense force, and what do you think is the root of the problem, if there is indeed a problem?
Look, I'll tell you, Ashraf, that the state of the situation of our armed forces is not pleasing. But I'm not going to ascribe our soldiers being killed there without ammunition. I know we have got ammunition for the G6, we have ammunition for G5, we have ammunition for the Rooikat. We have got ammunition which could be used there. The ammunition is there in the depots. I know for sure.
Okay, lastly, what about the fact that we hear that that the army has no money. As we've heard, the hospitals have no money. As we've heard, there's no money to even hire doctors. There's a whole lot of other things, but specifically to the army, that there's budget cuts which prevents them from effectively reinforcing themselves. What do you feel about that?
I feel sad. I think at some point I made that point that, you see, South Africa is a major country in SADC. South Africa is one of the major countries, I think, of the 2-3 countries in Africa, which cannot allow itself to be undermined. And you know, the military is that element of a state which is there to project force. The state cannot be seen to be powerless. We have to project power, and the military is there to project force.
Let's leave it at that. We could talk for another hour. Maybe we'll have another take on this conversation sometime down the line. General Mojo Motau, retired South African Army general who served as the Chief of Defence Intelligence. Appreciate your time, and I can tell you now from an audience point of view, do I say this in the type of English words that are provocative? The retired South African Army general, well, he's delivered some bombs in this conversation. Absolutely. I want to hear what you say about that. Let's get an update on what's going on in the DRC right after this.
My name is Vusiwe intokazi yakwaNgcobo ufuze umapholo mashiyamade engasazoshumayela. When last did I go to a party and how was the experience? I don't party at all. But my parents did have a 40th wedding anniversary as well as my mom's 60th birthday, so that was the last party I went to. Nothing beats partying with older people. It's a lot of fun. Can I sing a short verse of appreciation? What am I gonna sing? Holy, you'll always be. What do I like so much about SABC Sport? It's not even a like, it's a love. I love the fact that we're able to bring real stories to the people of South Africa. Catch
the queen of Mzansi Diski, Vusiwe Ngcobo, on match days, live on Laduma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so there you are. There you have it from someone who knows the inner workings of an army. And I'd like to get your thoughts. So let's hear it, because it is the National Pulse. What for you moves the National Pulse today? 086 000 2032 to call in. So tensions remain high in the DRC, and fighting continues. We now understand that the United States and the French embassies have been torched by angry protesters who are blaming these two nations as to what the issues in the country. And also those numbers, at least 4 more South Africans, I understand, have been killed. Based upon what we heard yesterday, there were 9, at least another 4. That could have changed. We'll get an update on that too. Dr. David Matsanga with me, who's an international relations and conflict resolution expert. Dr. Matsanga, thank you for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much, my brother, for calling me again. And as usual, we struggle for Africa.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, the pulses are racing, or the pulse rate is racing for understandably reason, and not good reason, for bad reasons. Firstly, what for you, give us an overview of what you're understanding very, very briefly as to what is sparked off what has happened here.
First of all, I would like to correct one thing, that the embassies, they have banned Uganda, Kenya embassies. I think they are heading to yours. It is not only the American and the French embassy. That's one correction. 2, this is in Kinshasa. It has just happened. Check your news. They have ransacked our embassy. We have picked up that and other embassies of the East African states. Let me go back to the real problem of this country called DRC Congo.
Yeah.
Since 1961, when they killed Patrice Lumumba, those who killed Patrice Lumumba never told us why they killed him, hid his body for 63 years. We didn't know where he was. This problem has been overflowing in the 2 countries, especially the neighboring countries of Uganda. Uganda has been receiving many refugees from DRC Congo. When Rwanda chaos genocide happened, more refugees from the same place poured into our country. The problem of Congo and what we must emphasize as peace negotiators and conflict resolution and international relations experts is at the center of all this fight is bad management. Bad management, bad governance, and then lack of a statehood. You cannot call some Congolese not part of Congo, yet they are Congolese. And that is why the fight continues. We write 10 agreements. I've been to all these places, from the Sun City Agreement, Lusaka Agreement, the Kampala Agreement.
Okay.
Dr. Matsanga has been running around.
So if I can ask you, when you spoke about you cannot call people who are from Congolese not Congolese, and I explained it because I take it you're referring to the people who live in that region where the conflict is, and I mean there's a discussion, there's a debate about whether they're Congolese or they're Rwandan, but you tell me more.
Exactly, my brother. President Tshisekedi refers to the people of Eastern Congo as Rwandese and Tutsi. They describe them as tall with long nose and whatever it is. This is wrong. This conflict would have not been there if President Tshisekedi had admitted that these key people, the M23 and other groups, we have 240 groups, my brother, of standing army in DRC Congo. The old standing army group is M23, are referred to as foreigners by a president of the state, which is supposed to govern. They have asked for reintegration in the army. We signed an agreement in 2009. We told him, take your people, reintegrate them in the army. They didn't do it. Now, when these people flow into the states like Uganda and Rwanda, what do? Do you kill them? You don't want them in Congo. You wanted Uganda to kill them or Rwanda to kill them. Where do we take these people? Nyerere asked that question. Matsanga is asking that question. Where do we take these people whom you don't want in Congo?
Well, Matsanga can answer another question very shortly. We've got a minute to go. Here's a quick thought to you, right? And you can answer this in one go. Number one, there's been the, whether you would call it allegation, there's been multiple reports that, in fact, these rebels are sponsored and supported by Rwanda, and in fact, you could say they're an extension of the Rwandan army. That's point one. In that's the case, what would be the motive for Rwanda? I'm talking of Kagame. Number two, Ramaphosa, South Africa's president, spoke to Kagame today. What are your thoughts about that? And perhaps just the last one. What would secure the peace here? What needs to happen? You got a minute to answer those. Yeah.
Thank you. Number one, there is no proof of an army coming from Rwanda going to support M23. These are Congolese who have picked up arms. It's an armed insurgents within Congo that has grown, fortunately, in a rich mineral region. You can't blame Rwanda. You can't blame Uganda. Uganda is officially in Congo. It has a document that says, come and protect us, look for ADF terrorists who are in Congo. Go and get them. We have an agreement. We have nothing to fear about that. Two, what is behind all this? It's like Africans. These people that you don't want a state. The only thing that Congo can do and the only thing that the international community can do are two things, not one. Two. One, create a state for the groups that are fighting, whom you don't like. Two, create a semi-autonomous Congo, in good English, a semi-autonomous state. Control the foreign, control the defense, control the treasury, but they remain part and parcel. You work together as Congolese.
Okay.
Less than that, even if you say we sit down when we are in the world for an agreement, we shall not get it. This war will erupt again. The last thing that you had asked.
All right, very quickly. Yeah,
what
very quickly.
can we do?
Yeah. Yes,
we need regional efforts. We need Ramaphosa. We need President Museveni. We need African Union, which is dead. African Union Commission is dead. The word DEAD is dead. They are issuing statements all the time. Nobody has intervened and tried to bring this conflict to an end.
Dr. David
So, as
Matsanga.
Africans, we are on our own.
We are on our own. That's an ominous way to end this conversation. Dr. David Matsanga, international relations and conflict resolution expert based in Uganda, therefore giving his perspective very much at the nerve center, well, close to it anyway, of this conflict in the DRC. Make of that whatever you make of it. I want to hear about it. Let's get the news headlines, slightly delayed. My apology on Della Imbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the news headlines, South African National Defence Force says the issue of withdrawing soldiers from the DRC will be discussed politically. In a shocking turn of events, the Soshanguve man convicted for insurance murder alongside his wife Sibusiso Mahlangu has confessed. He and his wife Lerato were convicted of murdering his wife's ex-boyfriend and child's father in January 2022. And Serbia's Prime Minister Milos Vucevic has resigned. This follows months of anti-government protests prompted by the collapse of a train station canopy which killed 15 people. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Braamfontein slow moving towards Smith Street. In Pretoria, Eskampa-Clearly Drive northbound has delays towards Moot Street. The N14 northbound has delays towards the R101 interchange, and the N1 southbound has a stationary vehicle near Linwood Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound has a crash before Linfield Park exit, and Old North Coast Road is closed just north of Columbine Place. In Cape Town, on the M3 northbound, queuing traffic reported at Paradise Road. The N2 in Somerset West is slow moving at Onverwacht Road. Strand Road eastbound in Stickland is slow moving. That's towards the R300 highway, and Kuburg Road southbound in Brooklyn has a crash reported at the N1 Kuburg interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, so to me last night was the AFCON draw, where we have the draw. Reaction. Go for it.
A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce says that on paper, Egypt could be their biggest threat in the Africa Cup of Nations Group B. Bafana were drawn in the same group as Egypt, Angola, and Zimbabwe. And Bruce says that they will do everything they can do to do better than the last AFCON. Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns have reportedly offered attacker Thembinkosi Lodge to Wydad Athletic Club. It has been widely reported that Lodge is unsettled at Kloorkop following the departure of coach Rulani Mokoena, who has insisted on the player being signed for an undisclosed fee. And according to SABC Sport, Sundowns would rather sell or agree a loan deal to Wydad than strengthen Kaizer Chiefs, who have expressed a strong interest in taking Lodge permanently. Elsewhere, Pep Guardiola has confirmed that Jeremy Doku will miss Manchester City's Champions League decider against Arsenal tomorrow due to injury. Doku, who missed City's Champions League defeat to Paris Saint-Germain last week and Saturday's league win over Chelsea, is still injured and struggling with an injury. Now City are 25th going into their final group game, with the top 8 teams qualifying automatically for the knockout stages and the teams from 9th to 24th going into a playoff. In cricket, Australian batting great Steve Smith is on the brink of entering the elite club of 10,000 test runs in tomorrow's opening match against Sri Lanka in Gale. Smith, who will captain the team for the 2-match series in the absence of Pat Cummins, has amassed 9,999 runs in 114 matches at an average of more than 55. The 35-year-old is all but assured to become the 15th batsman in the world and 4th Australian after Ricky Ponting, Alan Border and Steve Ball to achieve the milestone. Then World Junior 100 meter and 200 meter champion Bayanda Walaza has spoken to SABC Sport about the reason why he chose Tshwane University of Technology over the University of Pretoria to further his studies. The 18-year-old sprinter, who matriculated from Curro Hazeldean High School in Tshwane with a bachelor's pass, initially gave a verbal agreement to UP to pursue a degree in logistics. However, he ultimately enrolled at TUT to study supply chain management, and the Olympic silver medalist has explained that TUT TUT basically went above and beyond to persuade him to join their institution, leading him to change his plans and opt for a different path across town.
Say, TUT showed me that, they showed me that, they will support me in every step that I take, They told me that, we'll do this and this and this and this and this and this. And they never expected me to do things for them. It's like they're doing this out of love, So I felt like it was different from EP, because at UP it was like they told me, no, you need to do this and this and this. But TUT, it also showed like they truly wanted me to be there, and they're also doing by all their means, to make sure that I'll get everything that I want.
In tennis, newly appointed Tennis South Africa General Manager Anthony Murutwane says that he's excited to lead the federation into a new era. Murutwane started his career as a media official for wheelchair tennis and worked his way up to becoming a senior communication officer at Tennis South Africa, and now has been promoted as the General Manager. And he says that he's very enthusiastic for the role and has really outlined his vision for the future of sport as he wants tennis to grow in South Africa as a whole. With that said, it is a wrap from my side for now.
So before you go, so what do you make of the draw?
Yeah, I agree with Hugo Bruce saying that Egypt is the one threat in the group. I mean, Zimbabwe and Angola. And just talking about Zimbabwe, they've played Zimbabwe, if I'm not wrong, I think 5 times. And the last time we were in the group with them, in the same group with them, Zimbabwe, I think they had suspended them for a bit, but now they're back playing again. So they know them. And Angola, for me, the only threat is Egypt. Because we know how many times that they've won AFCON.
Listen, if you want to win the tournament, you have to get out of the group anyway.
Yeah.
And the good news, my understanding, is if you're playing Egypt in the group, you're not likely to play them again until the final.
Yeah.
So that means you're not likely to meet them anywhere else. Egypt is very close to Morocco, so from a support point of view, that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
But I mean, just your thoughts also, in terms of the format, it's not that difficult to qualify because it's not 2 teams that go to the next round, to the knockouts. It's 3 teams, meaning 2 automatic. And 4 of the 6th, third place, which I don't like, I must say up front.
Why?
It's a joke. You have to be, that means you have to be the 8 worst teams not to qualify for the last 16. How bad must you be?
They just
so if Bafana doesn't qualify, they would have finished 4th. Like, really? If they finished that poorly, like, why would they even play in the tournament?
I get you, but we've seen a lot of surprises. I mean, just from the previous Africa Cup of Nations, a lot of nations that went through to the final that we didn't expect them to, going through to the finals or the semis or quarterfinals.
But it does mean you have to do less to qualify for the next round, and that's the part I don't like. I think you have to, in the past, 1 win, 1 draw, maximum 2 defeats, you're gone. That doesn't apply anymore. Okay.
Well, I'll have more in the next hour.
With Ford's Blue Sky offers, get a new Ranger XL from just $5,899 per month, including our optional service plan. 10% deposit, prime less 4.75%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers, where our Ford family guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. T&Cs apply.
There will be joy and heartbreak at the Groenkloof Tennis Stadium in Pretoria. South Africa takes on Nigeria. The South is up against the West. This is the Davis Cup World Group 2 tie, the World Cup of tennis. Witness the spectacular tennis battle between South Africa and Nigeria on Saturday 1 February at 11 a.m. and Sunday 2 February at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. You can also catch the Sunday action on SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Ever since Uspillion won 5,000 rand, 5 tower on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals, star white, Baba, and he owns 10 identical pairs. And before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance, let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3 and see how one spin changed Spillion's life and how it can change ours as well. In just one day.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
I tell you what, there's no question about it. The National Pulse is boiling over. Those 2 conversations are just wow. If you haven't heard it, like, how could you be late, man? But at least catch the podcast, okay? General Mojo Motau, retired South African Army general, talking about the Defence Force and where we are. And then after that, Dr. David Matsanga, who effectively ended by saying the AU is dead, 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 and we are on our own. We'll get your thoughts. I want to know. WhatsApp right away, 0614 104 107, text or voice note form. Post on the X platform, just tweet us, SFM Radio, with your opinion. I want to know it. And to call in 086 000 2032. You know, every day now around 10 to the hour we take your calls. Sometimes before, but definitely so at that time. Well, this should get you concerned as well. Let's talk about the results of the Income and Expenditure Survey for the years 2022-23. So it's about a year and a half ago, I think it is. And let's see what came out of it. Risenga Maluleke, as always, with me, Statistician General of South Africa. Appreciate your time, and thanks for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Let me greet you, Ashraf, and let me greet the listeners.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Right. Now, you have this task of trying to help us understand the Income and Expenditure Survey and why it's important to the people listening. Go ahead.
Well, the first thing is that why we do the Income and Expenditure Survey, it helps us compute the poverty and inequality, which report will come later in the year. It also helps us understand economic dynamics in our country, especially from the household side that relates to national accounts or our GDP. And of course, we have what we call price stability in relation to updating and reweighting the CPI basket of goods and services, which report we also release today. So in the long term, it also helps our country to look at matters of sustainable development goals.
Well, they certainly need to get those stats right. So what came out of the survey now?
What we published today, one is that income at household level, and we are not talking about individual income because that one, in relation to headline poverty, we will come back later. But we said household income in the form of the year 2023 was sitting at 4.3 trillion. But the average household income was sitting at 204,000 per household, which would mean that the highest of the income was in the Western Cape, followed by Gauteng. Both the two provinces were above average. Whereas, and when we say above average, we say above national average of 204,000. The Western Cape was sitting at about 356,600. And then the lowest was in Limpopo, which had 3 times lower average income than the Western Cape, because it was sitting at about 128,000. And when we look at sources of income, largely sources of income, about 70%, 68.8% comes from work, whereas there are other sources which include pensions and social insurance and family allowance, as well as that which comes from income from capital where people invest, as well as income from rent. But however, women tended to have lower income. Generally, women-headed households had lower income. But it was largely, even from work, it was low, that they were sitting at those that received from work. 73% of male-headed households received their income from work, compared to about 59% of women-headed households.
Okay. Wow.
And when you break it down, when you break it down in terms of population group, we can see that your Indian Asian population tended to derive more from work, and this is largely including business, followed by the colored population group, followed by the black African. The white population group, while it has the highest income generally of all groups tended to have income coming from other sources, including financial capital, where they invest and get the money from investments.
Okay, and that I think is significant because that shows you when you have capital and wealth in your home, and there's perpetual wealth and exponential wealth, how that can grow, which obviously all the other groups that you've mentioned would have in diminishing, certainly diminishing advantage. I mean, as you go lower down, as you mentioned, in terms of black or African versus colored and Indian, they're very, very different. So that is significant, right? Anything else that you think we need to know that's really important here?
When we looked at the expenditure side, so you look at income, you look at expenditure, we have seen that the gap between income and expenditure was much more wider amongst the white population group, followed by the Indian Asian population group, followed by the colored. The one for black Africans was below national average. And that tells you that the wider the gap, the more people have disposable income which they can use for any other thing other than their main expenditures that they have reported on. And that allows people to invest, as I've already indicated. However, one amongst the other interesting things is that we found that on the expenditure side, housing and food represented 68% of the expenditure. But for those that are in the poorest people, we're spending more on housing and food compared to what the ones that are wealthier are spending on other issues, more like food as well as transport and insurance.
All right, so that's important. I mean, give us more. I mean, is there further breakdown on that in terms of where is the money spent as a national average, and then maybe broken down into groups again?
Yeah. When you look at the wealthier households, especially when you look at where is the bulk, they spent it on food, healthier food, live animals and meat, as well as slaughtered land animals. Going to other areas, I've already spoken about insurance, but the poorest households were spending more on cereal and other cereal products, which is not necessarily your cornflakes, but it's their pap as well as other issues like rice, and lesser on food that would give you more calories for sustainability.
Now, no, I mean, you're often reluctant to provide analysis of this, and that is understandable. You just give us the facts as they are. But from certainly, what should the greater South African community do with these stats? I mean, what should we do next about it, now that we've got this?
Well, it will help us, as we will come later with the headline poverty in another 6-7 months. However, this information will be presented to policymakers, be it cabinet, to provincial government leadership, as well as business and leadership in business, because they need to know where South Africans, how much they are earning, so that they can decide what they invest on, as well as where they are spending their money. So it's not for policy making by policymakers in government, but it's also for business people and those who want to start business to see where they can deploy their resources in building business.
That makes so much sense. Appreciate you giving up your time. Let's leave it at that. Risenga Maluleke, the Statistician General of South Africa. Thanks, much appreciate your time in delivering for us now what was delivered earlier, the 2022-2023 Income and Expenditure Survey for our country. Makes very interesting reading indeed. What is interesting is what's happening in the DRC and what's not happening in the DRC. Let's get your thoughts next.
Owning a small or medium-sized business takes courage, skill, and determination. The Clientele Legal Business Plan is there to protect, guide, and assist your business in managing the legal risks. Let us handle your labor matters, employment contracts, CCMA referrals, and so much more. Our team of professional lawyers are standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 42770. That's SAFM to 42770. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
It's time to shine for young athletes across South Africa. From thrilling football and rugby matches to intense netball games. Experience the passion and prowess of Mzansi's finest young sports stars. Super Sports Schools and SABC Plus bring you the specially curated channel dedicated entirely to school and youth sports. Join us as we celebrate their achievements and bring the excitement right to your screens. This is your chance to support the future of South African sports. The Super Sports Schools channel on SABC Plus, where every game is a home game. Don't miss a moment. Download the SABC Plus app today. Available on iOS, Google, and Smart TV. Or visit sabc-plus.com to start streaming. Super Sports Schools on SABC Plus. All the sport you care about most. Now streaming wherever you are.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, let's get your thoughts. So here you are. This is the National Pulse. Let's get a feel of your pulse. Right, we got calls to take. Michael in Durban, go for it.
Hey, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm very good indeed, Michael. Thanks. What's your point?
Yeah, I'm just concerned that there is no transparency in the reason thereof or memorandum of understanding why our soldiers were deployed in DRC, leaving all other neighboring countries who got a better view of that place, but going far South Africa, far end, and take our soldiers to go and die there. It's very questionable. Two, it is very suspicious that our government till now is very mum. They can't take a particular position. It tells you a lot that there is a lot of disagreement on the behind the scene in terms of what needs to be done by our government. Even the Minister for Defense is silent. President is silent. We are only hearing it is consulting Paul Kagame. But it's a lack of transparency. We don't know what's going on. It means there's a lot of government officials are telling us they are well equipped. Others are telling us they are not well equipped. And not being confused. All of these statements are coming from one and the same government. It clearly raises some suspicions that there is a lot more. If one can scratch the surface, that is going on regarding development of our
right. Your point has been made. It raises suspicions. I must say that lack of communication, solid communication, is certainly problematic. Michael in Durban, thanks for that. Let's get, I think it's Zat in the Northern Cape. Hello.
Good day. How are you?
I'm very good, right? Go for it, Zat.
Thank you so much, yeah. You see, what is happening in the DRC is that we do not have intelligence on the ground. We are not able even to have established buffer zones which would have separated the conflicting parties. That is why we do not have actually weak soldiers, but we have strong soldiers as a result that we have established that 9 out of 43 people who have died are from South Africa. It means that there is also other people that have died, but who are falling in the other parties. But now we have a government who has appointed people who does not have any knowledge of military. It is not a joke that our soldiers are dying because we cannot provide them with the resources that they need. We need to provide them with what they need.
Well, I would think they would have had some, but you said if they've got no resources and knowledge, and that's hugely problematic. I mean, that would require some serious questions of our country's ability to defend its own borders, let alone try and defend what they see as an attack by rebels in the DRC. Zat, thank you for that. We're going to move on to get another thought. Temba in Campton Park. Go for it, Temba. Temba, hello. Temba there? Hello. Yeah, Temba, you're live on the air. Go for it.
Good, man. I'm saying, first of all, the government and the politicians made a huge mistake by sending our troops on a peace mission without proper equipment, just in case of emergencies like this. Number two, there is no time for diplomacy now because our children have died, our people have died. M23 knew exactly that our soldiers are a peacekeeping mission. and they attacked. We need to attack M23. We need to attack their bases. We need to attack Rwanda if Rwanda is supporting them, so that they know that next time, if you touch these people, you will pay a big price. The reason why Rwanda is not caring about this issue, because they know there is no consequences. Our people have died. There must be consequences.
Okay.
Finish and last.
All right, got that. Well, I don't know whether they're keeping quiet, Rwanda. I think there's so much, and really many people believe they are very, very culpable in this issue. And I'm repeating what I've heard. But let's get your thoughts, okay? Here's more thoughts via WhatsApp.
Ashraf Garda, I love this guy. I love this guy's view. I love this guy's view. If I was a commander-in-chief, or maybe I was part of the leadership of the SANDF, I would have done exactly what this guy is suggesting. I would have done exactly what this guy is saying. Sharp, Ashraf, I love this guy.
I think, because we had two guys, I think you're referring to the General Mojo Motau. I think that's who you're referring to. You never said who, but I think that's the person you're talking about. Right, there's more. Well, anybody else says, I love this guy? I'm sure somebody's going to disagree and say, come on, man, you can't take what he says at face value. There's more to it than that. He's not there any longer. He doesn't even know.
Ashraf, the general you're talking to there is just emotional. He doesn't know how the situation on the ground right now. Is he in a position to go and attack Rwanda and survive? It's not just Rwanda there. You attack Rwanda, you've attacked the United States, you have attacked Britain. Is he going to stand for that? With the army here, which has got no aircraft, no nothing. The president is right to do it diplomatically. And then he should just pull out his men there.
Okay, got that. Well, I mean, you've echoed what I've said. Like, does he really know? He's giving an opinion, and I hear you. Does he really know what's going on? Right, more thoughts.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. The South African soldiers went to DRC with the full knowledge that there was a possibility that they may not come back. All the soldiers, when they go on a mission, they know that there is that possibility that they may not come back. It's painful for us that they are really not coming back alive, but it's part of their job.
Well, I mean, look, I think if you're in the army and you're going to a peace or a war zone, you know there could be trouble. So you're right about saying they may not come back, but it doesn't mean what was said early on. You allow your soldiers to go in a compromised position where they are looking for trouble. And that really is what the issue is.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, my heart is bleeding. It's a very, very, very sad days in South Africa, and we have leaders. You know, the president that we always complain about him being not decisive, and that's exactly what he's doing currently. He should be using harsher words. You know, the tone must be harsh. We can't be losing soldiers like this, and we know that who are culprits, and we act as if we are friendly and diplomatic. It can't be business as usual, Ashraf. You know, who's going to respect this country? We are the mockery of the world now. It's very, very sad. You know, at times, you know what, people are always giving the president the benefit of a doubt that he's a man of process. We don't need process, yeah. We need decisiveness. Ashraf.
We are the mockery of the world. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear we're like the greatest nation on earth. But it doesn't mean you may be closer to the truth around some issues, isn't it? Thanks for that. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories at 4. Steenhuisen criticizes Ramaphosa on the Expropriation Act, and Serbian Prime Minister resigns. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. DA leader John Steenhuisen has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for not consulting with the Government of National Unity partners on the Expropriation Act. Steenhuisen says that Ramaphosa ignored the DA's contributions of a legal opinion from Minister Dean Macpherson. He adds that Ramaphosa's failure to consult demonstrates that he's not being a good GNU partner. Steenhuisen was speaking at a press briefing on the outcomes of the DA's Federal Council meeting in Johannesburg today.
So when you make decisions and you don't consult the rest of your party, the parties in the coalition, without even giving a courtesy call to the leaders, knowing how contentious the expropriation bill has been, knowing the fact that you received a 2-page submission from the Minister of Public Works with a legal opinion from senior counsel attached, pointing out the constitutional problems with the bill, and you simply go ahead and do it. And the leaders of your coalition found out about it on social media. That is not being a good steward or a good partner.
South African National Defence Force says the issue of withdrawing soldiers from the DRC will be discussed politically. Kenya's President William Ruto, as the chairperson of the East African Community, has called both Rwanda and DRC presidents to a meeting in Kenya to discuss the situation in the DRC. South Africa has now lost 13 SANDF members since last Friday after being caught in crossfire between the M23 rebels and DRC army. SANDF spokesperson Siphiwe Dlamini.
I would not want to venture into that. That's a political space. We do advise from a military point of view what is taking place on the ground, and that matter would then be left to the political principals. There's a lot of consultation between the East African community, between SADC itself and the United Nations. So that is the level where those decisions might come from.
In a shocking turn of events, the Soshanguve man convicted for insurance murder alongside his wife, Sibusiso Mahlangu, has confessed. He and his wife, Lerato, were convicted of murdering his wife's ex-boyfriend and child's father in January 2022. They were convicted of orchestrating the murder of Sibusiso Sitebe by setting him alight and staging the scene to cover their tracks. Lerato subsequently falsely identified the body as that of her husband and claimed over 500,000 rand in life insurance payouts. During mitigation of sentence at the High Court in Pretoria, Mahlangu told the court that he wishes to clear his conscience and bring closure to the victims and their families.
Taking full responsibility for my actions of what happened in 2022 January. I am the one that committed the crime, and I'm truly, truly sorry to the family Agaste for your loss. It wasn't my intention to hurt anyone. I don't know how did I get to that place, how I acted, and continuously continued doing that. I'm truly, truly sorry for the pain that I caused to the family Agaste.
Operations at the Oshhoek port of entry between South Africa and Eswatini have been restored. This comes after a 32-ton coal truck allegedly experienced brake failure and crashed into stationary private vehicles and port infrastructure. 3 people were injured on the scene and were rushed to a nearby hospital. The Border Management Authority's Meme Mukhodzi says the border post can now be used after a safety and clearance assessment was done.
We are grateful to confirm that the 3 individuals injured during the incident, that is a SARS official, the tourism monitor and the truck driver, were able to receive prompt medical attention and they are recovering well.
Serbia's Prime Minister Milos Vučević has resigned. This follows months of anti-government protests prompted by the collapse of a train station canopy which killed 15 people. The incident led to allegations of widespread corruption and demands of accountability. Yesterday, thousands of students blockaded a major road junction into the capital, Belgrade. The BBC's Guy Delaney has the details.
Well, there have been a series of very large protests, including one last month which saw more than 100,000 people turn out on the streets of Belgrade, Serbia's capital. And by some reckoning, that was the biggest demonstration ever seen in Serbia. People have been very angry. They feel that people haven't taken accountability for that disaster. One of the persistent demands of the protesters has been for the resignation of the Prime Minister, Mr. Vučević, and that's now occurred.
Recapping the top story, DA leader John Steenhuisen has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for not consulting with the Government of National Unity Partners on the Expropriation Act. I am on Dilambana for SFM News headlines at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Boysens has a crash at Crown Interchange. The N1 north in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrad Road, and the N1 southbound in Pretoria has a crash near Linwood Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound queuing towards Cliffdale and the N3 eastbound in Ashburton has a crash before the Linfield Park exit. In Cape Town, the M7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound is slow moving towards the R300 highway. The M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Kuburg interchange, and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
In sports, the Sour Dixon motivated ahead of new season and pressure on England ahead of Six Nations campaign. More details at 4:30.
Ethical is what defines our business. I think Outsurance does have integrity. They are not just there for the money, they're there to create a relationship. It's like a partner in business. It's the best thing we've ever done to switch over to Outsurance. It's a no-brainer.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
There will be joy and heartbreak at the Groenkloof Tennis Stadium in Pretoria. South Africa takes on Nigeria. The South is up against the West. This is the Davis Cup World Group 2 tie, the World Cup of tennis. Witness the spectacular tennis battle between South Africa and Nigeria on Saturday 1 February at 11 a.m. and Sunday 2 February at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. You can also catch the Sunday action on SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game. Get ready for the biggest laughs of the summer at the Johannesburg Comedy Festival. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. starting 22nd December only on SABC2. Africa's largest comedy festival is back with the hottest local comedians like Celeste Ntuli, Kidiboni Mlaudzi and many more, bringing the funniest, most unforgettable vibe to your screen. Ritsweri Vibe, Ritsweri Johannesburg Comedy Festival. Download SABC Plus and stream your favorite shows anytime, anywhere.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So many people commenting about South Africa and the DRC, including, what is the role of the African Union? What is the role of the United Nations when it comes to peacekeeping, and what do they do? And I think as the days unfold, there'll be more and more questions being asked. I'll tell you what, now, we ended the top of the hour with a listener saying South Africa is a mockery, and I said, come on, man. We want to be a champion nation, not a mockery nation. I tell you what, the next conversation may get you to even confirm that, and it's really sad news for someone who just, because I love my country, okay? We're going to talk to Catherine Constantinides now, and then we'll chat to Tsepo Motlale, who's the head of the Gauteng Disaster Management Center after that. And we're going to talk to both of them, one after the other, because of what happened to Catherine Constantinides, or what did not happen to her. So let's firstly get Catherine on the line. Catherine, appreciate your time. Hi.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Great to talk to you.
Thank you. And I'm trying to think about your CV in terms of how many things you do. One of the founders of Miss Earth, and so on. Goodness, I can list about 10 things that you're involved in. So many things, right? But specifically, something happened to you that is very, very personal. And I'll leave it to you to just tell us that story firstly.
Absolutely. So Sunday a week ago, we got up as a family. We were getting ready to go to church. It was early in the morning, and we could smell smoke. And I honestly, it was quite a hot Sunday morning, and I thought that the smoke was coming from somewhere because the doors and windows were open. And within a few minutes, somebody called me and said, "You need to urgently come to the front of the house." And what we found were there were flames. And I'm saying flames about the size of an A4 page. There were flames on an electric board in our home. And we tried to get the flames out. And what then happened was eventually we managed to contain the flames. But within about 9 minutes, those flames.
All right, we just seem to have lost that connection. Catherine, you still there? It's just not clear at this moment in time. Let's see if we can just try and reconnect with her in just a second, because we do need to get to her story. So we stopped where she's saying, at her home on a Sunday, just before they were going to church, they found there were flames at a box at the house. I think, Catherine, you're there now, right? Yeah.
I am, sir.
Okay,
yes.
we lost you after you said the flames were the size like of an A4 paper, and we managed to put it out. Something along that line,
Yes.
yeah?
Within about 9 minutes of that, and assuming that possibly this fire was controlled, or these flames were controlled, because at that time it wasn't a fire, within about 9 minutes, all of a sudden an entire fire erupted. It was from the floor to the ceiling, and it was an emergency situation. I immediately called 10111 and tried to get emergency services to come out to assist, because there was no way that we would be able to contain this fire, and we were in a it was horrific, and the fire just started to bellow and get bigger. And I was on the phone with emergency services, and they said to me, well, they are unable to help me, but they can give me a phone number of somebody else that I could call. Now, during that emergency and in that moment, there was no ways that I could take down an additional number, let alone try to remember it. We were panicking, we were worried, the fire was growing, and eventually the call was then dropped, because they were insistent they cannot assist me. We ran in the road trying to urgently alert neighbors. We did have a fire extinguisher. Unfortunately, the fire extinguisher would not work, and so we ran in the road trying to get assistance from neighbors who possibly had a fire extinguisher. We could not get emergency services to come out. It was quite clear that no one would assist us. In that interim period, two neighbors, bless them, Becky and Sia, they ran to our house with an extinguisher, and we were able to contain what was a complete catastrophe. And at that point, I think one of the neighbors had put it onto our community group that we urgently needed assistance. In the interim, and in the few hours thereafter, still no emergency services came out, no one assisted. I had given our address to the lady on the other side of the line, and still nobody came. However, there was a private security company known as Fidelity. I am not a client of Fidelity. However, they had a secure and fire arm to them, and a fireman arrived with a small fire vehicle, and the fire had already been contained, but that gentleman stayed on the scene with us, making sure that everyone was fine, making sure that power supply had been isolated, that the fire had been isolated in the areas of the home where it was, and he stayed with us until somebody from, again, a private electrician or of some sort came to ensure that the house was safe to go into and that the fire had been contained completely. Now, I learned a lot of lessons on that day. However, it was a horrific and traumatic experience for myself, for my child, for my mom. We were so scared that that it would explode, the rooms where the fire was. And so it was a battle to get the fire out, and at the same time trying to keep everybody safe. And so for us, in that emergency situation, my mind went to phone the emergency services.
Of course.
I have never before thought of, actually, I need to get cover from a private security company or a private company of any kind, because, in fact, you're not going to get help from the city. That's something that's never crossed my mind. I was devastated that, well, obviously nobody came, and it was up to us to try to put that fire out. And I'm so grateful to the neighbors that assisted and supported us. And I think that, even just as citizens, we are failed by the city in this regard. I believe that this is not, I shared the story because there are so many important learnings that must come out of it for everyone. And the amount of stories that have come back to me and people who have had the same experience, across the city and, in fact, across the province is absolutely horrifying.
All right. So I mean, firstly, I mean, my condolences, to what happened to you, and I'm thank goodness there was no loss of life. I think there was damage, but obviously the house totally didn't burn down. Thank goodness for that. Thanks for the neighbors. Thanks for the security company. Thanks for that all important fire extinguisher. Right. Let's then get to the important issue here, right? Which is the call that you made, because this is the one that I think the audience needs to hear. The call that you made to the emergency services. So do I take it what is that? Is that Johannesburg emergency, Gauteng emergency? Help us understand who it was.
I phoned 10111, went through to the police, and they said, this is a number that I've used before in emergency situations, not within a fire situation, because I've never been in that situation before. But when there has been some form of an emergency, I do extensive humanitarian work, working in townships across the city. And so this is a number I've used before. I know that the person on the other end of that call is able to transfer or move your call across the city and the departments and get you assistance from the correct department
Fair
or
enough.
people you need to speak
So that
to.
person is a connector. I mean, they must then think on your behalf.
Correct.
I mean, that's what you expect them to do. And you're saying the first response was, here's a number, you can contact them, right?
Correct.
A different number, right? And of course, you did you try to contact them, or you didn't have the time to do that? You did mention you were in a panic.
No, Ashraf, in that situation, I even attempted to give her my physical address. I started to give her my address. In fact, I gave her the address and I said to her, please, it's an emergency. I cannot at this moment even remember another number. And I'm standing in the road. I cannot write down another number or take down another number. And it was, we were in that crisis moment, and I needed that assistance. And they insisted, well, there's no ways that they can help. They cannot channel my call in any way as such. And if I don't take down a number, they can't help me.
Okay, so finally, at any stage, did any emergency services come to your assistance? I don't mean the private company. I'm talking about whether it's, I don't know what the departments are, emergency services, fire engine, brigade, whatever it is. Did anybody come to you?
Ashraf, absolutely nobody. To this moment, not a call, nobody arrived. Not even hours later, stupidly, I waited and still thought, perhaps, even if it was 2 or 3 hours later, perhaps somebody would arrive. But absolutely nobody arrived.
And also, not only, did you make the call, of course, you have a substantial following on social media, and you use that effectively, right, to do much of the work that you do, right? You mean even after your many social media posts, none of that got circled back, or they did get back to the relevant, whether it's the mayor, whether it's emergency services, it never got to them to feel, to say, hold it, what is the story here? We need to find out. That didn't happen either.
No, that didn't happen. I have been told, I spoke to News 24 who spoke to somebody from the city, and what I read in an article posted yesterday or published yesterday was that I need to put in an official complaint. And there's official complaint line, and I'm welcome to put in an official complaint. If in an emergency one cannot get the assistance they need, I'm not sure how successful I'm going to be to get any joy at the end of an official complaint being put in.
And just finally on this one, you are talking about the city of Joburg. Am I right?
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to clear that up. Right, we're going to chat to Tshepo Motlhale in a moment, and you certainly can listen in on that one, right? However, just a final thought. What is your message, therefore, to the citizens of Joburg, and it could be ditto other places as well, right? Having had experienced what you experienced around the vulnerability of a no-show when you actually have a fire.
The most important thing, having reflected on it for 48 to 72 hours last week and thinking clearly about it, I actually put a list of 5 or 6 important points for anybody anywhere in the country of what you need to do in an electric fire. This was specifically an electric fire. There were many things that I did not know. I posted it on my Instagram page. You'll see it very clearly. And my Instagram or social media handle is Change Agent SA, and you can find it there. And the reason I posted this is because there are so many learnings that must come out. We have to know how to equip ourselves better as citizens, knowing that it is extremely likely that you will not be assisted when you phone for, for argument's sake, the state or an emergency number. If you do not have access to somebody like Fidelity Secure and Fire, which I did not before this, you're not going to get the help that you need. I'm grateful that somehow they were alerted by the community groups that I'm on in that emergency moment. But there is no time to take down additional numbers.
Absolutely.
There's no time. So you have to have these emergency numbers on your phone, and you need to know what to do in that situation. For example, in an electric fire, you can never, ever use water. Now, that's not something that I offhand knew. You think of fire and you think you need water to put it out. You need to make sure that your fire extinguisher is serviced every year.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it will not work.
Okay.
So, there's a lot we have to do as citizens. However, I was failed. To this point, no one came out. I was deeply disappointed, especially someone who served our city and lived in the city working to serve others.
All right, that's where we can leave it. Catherine Constantinides, do listen to the conversation coming up next. There you are, victim of a fire. They're all fine, but the fire engine did not come. You are on your own, or are you? We'll find out next.
Compliments for 2025, Mangani. Call me Mabel Goals because I'm coming for it all this year. Body, relationship, and financial goals. With my Just Invest account, financially I'm cruising. 2 more to go. You know any available Prince Charming voice, man?
I've got you, Mabel. Sorry. Mara, you can also be like Mabel and earn up to 8.25% in interest to start the year right. Open yours via the Money app today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply. Go to nedbank.co.za for more information.
The Toffees are well aware that only maximum points will help them out of the bottom half.
Lewin, great feat, brilliance, absolutely superbly done. Calvert-Lewin for Everton.
Meanwhile, the Foxes believe they are in dire need of victory to run away from trouble.
It's Jordan Ayew, back in goal. Jordan Ayew has scored for Leicester City, and those Leicester fans are celebrating wildly.
This is the Premier League. Experience the superb contest, Everton FC versus Leicester City FC, on Saturday 1 February at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, so there we are. That's Catherine Constantinides, who, yes, founder of Miss Earth. I think a member of the board of the Kathrada Foundation does, and I think in the past did some amazing work and continues to do it in the city of Joburg. And I think the very next day she was out giving out books to the communities, the more underprivileged community in the Lenasia area, and you just wonder, how does she do it? But anyway, that's her point. Lots of lessons there. Let's get the thoughts of Tsepo Motlale, the head of the Gauteng Disaster Management Center. Tsepo, you heard Catherine talking. Thank you for your time. It's really important that you talk to us. I'm going to give you a chance to respond. Go ahead and respond.
All right. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to the listeners. Firstly, let me start by expressing our sadness to hear the story that Catherine has just relayed. It has reached our attention, and the matter has been investigated, but I will also provide a brief view of the challenges and also how we are putting some measures into place for interventions. Firstly, let me also start also by appreciating the community groups that are quite active for mobilization and also saving lives. I mean, this is also testament to the situation that we've just experienced. So I would respond to this particular case once I've given a brief overview of what our role is as the Gauteng Provincial Disaster Management Center and also responsible for fire services. We have a role to play in ensuring that we oversee the performance of the function. That is from an oversight annual monitoring and also providing support to municipalities so that the function can be rendered effectively. But time to time, we also conduct what we call state of readiness assessment. This is where we assess the performance of the municipalities in rendering this function, fire services in particular. And from our findings, the indications are not positive from what we have been monitoring. And this is a matter that we have also escalated to municipalities so that they can ensure that they reorganize the function as soon as possible.
But okay, let me get let me get clarity on this. Are we saying that Catherine's experience of making the call to 10111 firstly, and then them giving her a number when she can't even think straight, and I can understand that situation, and then they don't even follow up either, is that a common thing or is that an absolute outlier?
Okay, firstly, 10111 is responsible for police-related emergencies, and unfortunately, the systems are not linked whereby you are able to transfer the cost directly to the immediate municipality. That would be depending on the nature of the incident. But that's why in all our programs, so that we conduct when we conduct the public education and information relations work, we always advocate for the households to know the emergency numbers. For medical emergencies, for fire-related emergencies, there's a number that must be dialed. And in each municipality, there's a different number. But if you're using your cell phone, then it's 112. Then they will be able to relay you or to transfer, not really transfer, but to dial the number of the nearest emergency services and then transfer.
Okay, so you're saying, to confirm, you're saying if you're using a mobile phone, which I think most people would be using, you dial 112. Is that what you said?
That's the number that you have on your cell phone. But if in your area, like you are in the city of Tshwane, in the city of Ekurhuleni or Johannesburg, it's important that you must know those emergency numbers.
Okay,
so
fine. I hear that, right. Okay, now in a case like this where she called the police emergency, and as you said, there's no systems that connect you, I mean, that's another conversation that we need to be having. Why don't we have one emergency number for the entire country? I mean, right? Well, why don't we have that? One important emergency number for the entire country for all sorts of emergencies, and a system that is equipped to handle all of it.
There is currently a review of that system of emergency communication, and these are some of the things that we are also making as part of the recommendation, that by dialing one number, you know that you are able to reach any form of assistance that you require in an emergency situation. So there has been also work that has been done, starting with the old work. Remember when we also had the 101-77 number, then we had the 107 number. So there has been also that development process for a coordinated structure that oversees the connection.
Well, I think it's a matter. I mean, it may not be your direct issue today, but I think it's a matter of. It's a matter of urgency. It's an emergency in its own right. So even if somebody's driving and there's an accident and we know there's potholes on the road and people are putting bricks on the roads, they don't need to look at which number they need to dial, because there is no time to think. If they dial one number, somebody, so if, instead of 10 people in 10 different areas, you need 100 or 1,000 people that are able to handle the entire country's emergency services. Let's move on to the other issue. We then find out, right? So obviously in this case, they didn't even, the 10111 people felt like they've passed on the message to Catherine that she must sort it out. There was no follow-up. We know that already, right? We also find out now that there's a lack of these fire engines. So just help us very quickly onto that before we get to news time. You know, is it true to say that the capacity in terms of fire engines to go to attend fires are compromised at this point in time?
Yes, indeed, that is positive, because even our status report from the readiness assessment does indicate that there has been a decline of fire engines. In Gauteng alone, we have a total of 92 fire stations, and then we have a total, at this current moment, a total of 57 operational appliances. But then the rest is out of commission, you know, for maintenance and repairs. But there are other areas where you find that the municipalities have work underway to procure this.
Very, very quickly, my apology, we're on to news time. I just need to get this very quickly from you. So are you saying there are 92 fire stations throughout the province of Gauteng, right? I got that number. But fire engines, did you say there's only 57, or I got that wrong?
Yes, that is positive.
So there are 57 fire engines for 92 fire stations. That means almost half the fire stations don't even have a fire engine.
Yeah.
Now, how did we get out?
That is based on this current assessment. which also now counts the vehicles that are out of commission. So ones that are currently operation is the number that I'm giving.
Well, I'm going to say this. I mean, clearly, of all the emergencies that we have in our country, in our city, this number you just gave me suggests that actually we have an emergency. And you need to almost call 10111 or whichever number you spoke about, 112, to say we have an emergency. The numbers don't match up. It's almost like if you watch the movie Titanic, I'm going back to that, where those lifeboats didn't match up with the numbers of people on the ship by far. So someone knew, the captain or the other designer, that they will all not be able to get into a boat because at least over 70% will die because there's not enough boats. That's the number we have.
Yeah. So we are, reviewing the entire model. And this is also a program that is driven from a national government level to review even the legislation, because there is quite a number of areas that needs to be improved in order to reorganize and to repurpose the function.
Okay.
One of the key elements is also to look into the funding arrangements, which I can also state that the function is actually funded through equitable share formula, but which is also shrinking based on the allocation.
Well,
that has
I mean, to be fair
allocated.
to you, I mean, the issue of funding budget shrinking is across the board. I mean, we've heard it every single day we're speaking to someone. Let's leave it at that, Tsepo Motlale. Thank you for your time and being very clear about and very transparent about the reality, the emergency of our fire station emergencies. I think we need to have another chat sometime soon about the developments, and it's rather urgent. Much appreciate your time. Thank you. Let's get the news headlines. Here's on Dela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the news headlines, the ANC has called on the United Nations Security Council to act on attacks against the UN peacekeepers in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 13 South African Defence Force soldiers have been killed in less than a week in the DRC after being caught in crossfire between the M23 rebels and the DRC army. Day leader Johnston Hazen has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for not consulting with the Government of National Unity Partners on the Expropriation Act, and the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has arrived in Paris for the second leg of a one-day tour aiming to win support for her country and its sovereignty over Greenland. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Rose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Eskom Pahleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Mood Street. In Bedfordview, the N3 northbound queuing on the link to the N12 east at Kilulis Interchange, and the N12 westbound has a crash reported at Kilulis Interchange. In KZN, the N3 westbound queuing towards Cliffdale, the N3 eastbound has a crash before Linfield Park exit, and Belito Drive has a crash reported at the M4 highway. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, the M5 southbound is slow moving towards the N2 highway, and the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound queuing at Voortrekker Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma Jean.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Cherie, what are we talking? We're talking cricket awards.
Yes, so we're talking cricket, and Proteas woman all-rounder Anrika Dirksen feels that she's motivated after winning the 2024 ICC Women's Emerging Cricketer of the Year award. She surpassed India's Shreyaka Patel and Scottish cricketer Saskia Hawley to be counted amongst the best in the world of cricket. Dirksen says that her 2024 success is a reflection of the Proteas' collective effort.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm not really one for personal awards or recognition, but this is obviously a great honor, and I'm very humbled by it. But cricket is ultimately a team sport, and I think this is probably more a reflection of the hard work and support of my teammates and coaches rather than myself. But yeah, I've got to say I'm extremely grateful, very humbled, and very motivated by this award.
In football, Kaizer Chiefs assistant coach Khalil Ben Yusuf has credited the club's psychologist Dr. Henning Herger for the improved mental state of their striker Ranga Chivaviro. Now, Ben Yusuf was responding after Amakosi cruised to the last 16 stage of the Nedbank Cup, beating lower division side Free Agents 4-0. Chivaviro, who has been struggling to score goals and on the receiving end of the supporters, scored the fourth goal in this game, and Ben Yusuf says that the the mental coach is doing some great work. Elsewhere, Champions League is all set for a nail-biting conclusion tomorrow as 18 matches are played simultaneously across Europe, and the likes of Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain will battle to avoid an early exit. Liverpool with 7 wins out of 7 and Barcelona are the only 2 teams who have already guaranteed a place in the last 16 after 7 games in the league phase. Arsenal, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, AC Milan, Atalanta and Bayer Leverkusen occupy the other 6 spots for now, but so much could change on the final night. Big names like reigning champions Real Madrid, last season's runners-up Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich and Juventus are all still hoping to stay in or to be in the top 8, but are already guaranteed to at least be in February's playoff round. In fact, only 9 of the 36 teams will come into the final match day, still fighting to secure qualification for the next phase, including former European Cup winners PSV Eindhoven and Benfica. Then in rugby, the pressure is on England ahead of a Six Nations campaign where only a change in fortunes will do for head coach Steve Borthwick. England have lost 7 of their last 10 tests, including 3 on the spin in the autumn at Alliance Stadium. And if Borthwick is to prove that he is the right man to lead the new World Cup cycle, then England must hit the ground running. England have an opening clash against Ireland in Dublin before France and then Scotland, travelling to Twickenham with the potential to create more problems for Borthwick. In basketball, Jimmy Butler has been suspended indefinitely by the Miami Heat after a continued pattern of disregard of team rules. The 6-time NBA All-Star has already been suspended twice by his team this month for disciplinary issues, ruling him out of 9 matches. And the Heat said that he walked out of team practice on Friday and has now been suspended again without pay. They say the suspension is indefinite but will not last fewer than 5 games. On that note, it is a wrap from my side for now.
Okay, perfect. Lots to consider based on what you said, but we'll talk about that in the next hour.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the toothpaste so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does every electrical company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampo on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Life is too short for long-term grudges, but when it's the Soweto Derby, hey, my daughter, I barely. Black and white confronts gold and black. The Buccaneers believe Yonkindown, Iparapara, Yaphumelela. While Amakhosi still emphasize Ikosi, Alpelo Moya. Experience Mzansi's biggest football rivalry, Orlando Pirates versus Kaizer Chiefs, on Saturday, 1 February at 2 p.m. live on SABC1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Okay, we will be chatting, by the way, to the Free State Premier in a few minutes' time. But let's get to Makwe Masilela first up, the Chief Investment Officer, the Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, good to connect with you. Let's talk about local and global markets, but first up, news about Woolworths.
Yeah, afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to the listeners. Yes, we've seen Woolworths in South Africa. While discretionary spend remains constrained, consumer sentiment is improving and is supported by moderating inflation, interest rates easing, and the prolonged suspension of load shedding. And in Australia, notwithstanding improved consumer sentiment and the uplift in the retail sector sales, which were held by Black Friday, the sustained effect of high interest rates and elevated living costs continues to weigh on consumer behavior and discretionary spend, but the guys have seen a strong sales growth when it comes to food, with online sales up 37% and contributing 6.4% of food sales. Group turnover up 5.7%, sales up 6.62%, but Ashraf headline earnings per share expected to decrease by 27% because of weaker than expected performance of their clothing business, which unfortunately resulted in negative operational leverage. And the newly appointed U.S. Treasury Secretary is pushing for a gradual levies of U.S. imports starting at 2.5%. However, Trump has expressed preference for a rate much bigger than the 2.5%, and the knee-jerk reaction was a strengthening U.S. dollar. And remember, tariffs will lead to increased costs for customers as importers may pass these expenses down the supply chain. And yesterday's tax sell-off was a reminder of the importance of diversification and how tech shares valuations are expensive or priced for perfection. So market participants' attention is now turning to interest rate decision announcements starting from tomorrow. And oil prices edge higher but remained near a 2-week low as weak Chinese economic data and rising temperatures dampened demand prospects. Supporting prices was a disruption of oil loading operations in Libya. Brent crude is up 0.2% at $77 a barrel. And after the drop yesterday, with gold likely being used to cover losses in other asset classes, the yellow metal is rebounding as equity markets are steady today, and we see gold is up 0.4% at 2,750, and then but platinum is down 0.8% at $938. Ashraf markets are cautiously up, with the JSE up 0.4%, getting support from our industrials, and we've seen the rand firming almost 0.3% against the US dollar. Is now 18.66, 23.21 against the pound, and 19.47 against the euro.
There we have those numbers. Thanks for that, Mark. We will connect again tomorrow. Thank you for that. Right. Okay. Welcome your calls. You can call in on a range of issues we've spoken about, including the fire services, including the DRC, and have I missed anything else?
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, let's get your opinion. It is the National Pulse. I want to feel your pulse and what your pulse rate's telling you right now. And I can tell you now, it's on a whole range of issues, right? Here's what to start with.
Hey, Ashraf, my dad kept his retirement at Itala. Yesterday, when he went to draw his money, he was told that, well, the ATMs are frozen, and he was told to go to FNB. When you go to FNB opened an account for him and said his pension would now be transferred to FNB. This was not communicated to us formally in the letter, so we don't know what's going on. The money is still not there in the FNB ATM, so we're just waiting. Can you get some update on the Itala issue, Ashraf? Thank you so much. It's Bongi here.
Thanks for that, Bongi. I tell you what, let me get Temba and Keys to just try and see if they can reach out to someone who can give us answers on that issue. Thank you. I think it's really sad, firstly, but you do need answers. So let's see if we can, right? And if anybody else knows better, feel free to call in, and so that we know that immediately, and Bongi will know that too. Right. What about our former president?
Afternoon, Ashraf. I'm Svito from Guatemala. The country is so quiet, as if there's nothing that has happened after Janusz Walushi has just confirmed the speculations that have been doing rounds over the years about Jacob Zuma, who went to Clive W. Lewis before and after Hani's assassination. I also wonder, why did he release Eugene de Kock from jail on parole, provided him with a house to stay in, and gave him a tax-free monthly 40,000 rand? Because I'm sure by now, if it was either Ramaphosa or Mbiki's names who are associated with Clive W. Lewis, the country will be up in arms now, wanting answers. Thank you.
country want the answers. I tell you what, I mean, first of all, whatever Janus Valu says, just take that with a pinch of salt. I'm not saying he's talking nonsense, but it is him after all. Unrepentant, it is him. And you never know what he's trying to say. That doesn't mean, as per your message or your call, that we actually must ignore it. I think, I have to be fair, we haven't covered it well enough so far, certainly not on the show, because I think we've been overcrowded by the DRC issues, but I think it does need some serious attention. It's possible some of the other shows are doing it, but we do need to do it and understand exactly what did he say and where do we go with this information based upon what he said.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. As always, we are having a sleeping president, and it will be so unfortunate sooner rather than later losing more than 20 or 25 of our soldiers. It will be the time when our president will be awakened. So since our president is always consulting, we are losing our soldiers. It's very sad to not have a president. Thanks.
Well, I mean, I really don't know if he's a sleeping president. I mean, let's be fair to him. He may be making mistakes, but is he sleeping?
Hi, Ashraf and the ACFM listener. Ashraf, you know what? These hostels, because it's free of charge and people, they enjoying themselves there with free guns, murdering the people because of the Incabis. They're bringing one tribes in Gauteng, whereby they're becoming popular as if like now Gauteng is theirs. Even the way like maybe, they train the baby because they always in group, in unit. It's just a battalion there without the commander.
I do think there's going to have to be a real investigation in terms of South Africa's defense force in our country and then South Africa's defense force outside our country when we're asked to maintain the peace. Let's get further comments. In fact, Niati wants to change tack. You want to talk about SARS? Go for it.
Thank you, Ashraf and your team.
Thank you. Go for it, yeah.
Firstly, condolences to the families of the soldiers that lost their lives up in the DRC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ashraf, mine is more on SARS and their service delivery timeline. I'm not sure whether many people experience this, but they have this appointment system that they use these days, or maybe to say immediately after COVID, where you call, you make appointments. I mean, they call you back if that's the option that you want, as well as them having to deal with whatever query that you have. But within that, they would want you to make an appointment, which would take you to 14 days, 21 days, depending on what your query is.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they say you must go to the branch. You go to the branch in Nelspruit, you've got people there who are supposed to be assisting you. And we are basically in a SARS office. But then they'll still tell you that you must make an appointment for them to come and assist you on a query that I want to believe they must have the capacity for you to actually, a capacity for them to assist you. Again, that appointment is not going to happen tomorrow. Let me just give an example. A simple thing of changing banking details or your contact details. Those guys can't assist you there. They want you to make an appointment which will take you 7 days. Like for now, they are giving me an appointment for February. I'm in January.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you're going to wait like another whole month maybe. If you said 7 days, maybe even longer. Yeah.
My challenge is why is SARS continuing with that? Because their service should not be an inconvenience to us as their clients just because they want to work remotely or they are adopting technology that is convenient for them but not for their clients. So those timelines are really crazy. Maybe someday, if your producer are able to assist and actually just call SARS.
All right, I think so. There's lots of work for Temba and Keys to do. Let's follow up on the SARS issue in terms of their procedures in dealing with queries where you need to come in and why does it take this long in terms of making the appointments and getting them to stick. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, and Niati, thanks for your time. Much appreciated, right? Okay, we're going to get further comments after this.
I feel great, I feel nice.
Kashem, what's the score? We're quelling on the highest, the summer level. What are we? Uzalo, what's the car? No Maswazi cars being a mama. Pefeni wants to Kreta and get a kaya. It's the core on SABC Plus. Don't miss Uzalo at 8:30 weekdays only on SABC 1. Zansi for sure.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. SABC CSI, in partnership with SAFM, will be giving away 20 laptops to Tetlanyo Secondary School in Kimberley on the 31st of January 2025. Tetlanyo Secondary School has been nominated by the SABC to receive 20 laptops after writing a donation request to enhance their ambitions to be 4IR compliant and increase the number of learners ready to participate fully and productively in the country's economy. Tune in to SAFM on the 31st of January and listen to The Talking Point, broadcasting live from the Tetlanyo Secondary School. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So what are the conversations that move us? I mean, it's a big question, isn't it? What moves the national pulse? Janus Valos should, isn't it? Salo, you have a thought on that. Go for it.
Thank you for having me, Ashraf. Ashraf, I think when we talk about, I think it's you yesterday, for starters, if I hear correctly, saying that especially when Cyril Ramaphosa is a president or Jacob Zuma is a former, I think we need to differentiate these two, because that's a personal thing as Jacob Zuma, for instance. Did he went there as on his personal capacity to see Walush? And then if we want to find out what was the conversation with that, I think Walush also is not making this thing even fair for us. He was supposed to tell us what he knows about the visit of Jacob Zuma. Was it mandated by the ANC, or it was a personal thing for Jacob Zuma to do, to go to...
Well, I think you're right. Fair comment. So, I mean, I didn't discuss it. I didn't bring it up yesterday, not at all.
Yes.
Somebody else may have done so. But you are quite right. And that's what I said just now. We aren't, when we're quoting him, we're quoting Janus Valos now, we must understand who is this person. So I would be very reluctant, personally, to take every word he says at face value. I mean, why would we do that? That doesn't mean he may not be right. He may be right. But we need to take it... We can't take it at face value, but we need to investigate it. I do agree with that.
That's correct. And lastly, Ashraf, I wanted to visit the HSBC, but I hear that how I know you're not going to respond to this, but let me put it here on air. Maybe your management will attend to it. Is your lift there working, or are you working upstairs?
No, some lifts are working, some lifts are not working. Let's put it that way.
Some must not work.
Yeah,
no,
some lifts are working, some are not.
I do know, Ashraf, I can tell you, I do know the one that is working is the one that is going to the CEO office and so forth. So can they just fix those other ones so that the people who work at the SABC and us who work to visit, they do not have to walk all along? Does SABC has a financial problem, or what is happening in there?
Well, look, it's well documented that the SABC is in need of money. That's well documented. I mean, that's true. In terms of the lifts, some of the lifts are working, others are not. There's maintenance issues, which I don't know what the contracts are. I really can't comment. And clearly, those that are not working compromises certain people, and those that are working are all fine. And it's not just to one person, clearly not. And I think it's in everybody's interest that it gets sorted out as soon as possible, including mine. But you too, your point is well taken. Thanks for that, Solo in Mokopane, right? Okay, let's get to Vuyizwa in Pakistan North. Go for it.
Yes, Ashraf. You know what? I think time has arrived that African leaders come out clean. Because if you look at what is happening in the Great Lakes, the Europeans are still part of whatever is going on there. Because
but you said exactly the same thing yesterday. What I'm saying, tell us something that you haven't brought up, so we can learn something.
No, what I'm saying is that it's high time. I didn't say it's high time we must call them yesterday. I think if I come to Kagame, Tshisekedi, Cyril Ramaphosa, and everybody that is involved, because there's a lot of interest, business interest, and there's big business involved in those conflicts that are benefiting from the minerals in the DRC.
Exactly, but I mean, that's my point. You did bring that up yesterday. I know you did, right? Because I enjoy listening to you. You brought it up. Point made. There's a lot of meddling. There's a lot of meddling globally, and I'll tell you what I said to you yesterday. When we talk about the global meddlers, let's not forget that Africans from the continent are also complicit in that. We can't just say that they're all angels. That's not true either. That will just be wrong. Well, Yiswa, thanks for that call. Right, here's another thought on... it's not a good day for good news, I promise you that, sadly so. Anonymous wants to talk about corruption at Home Affairs. Go for it.
Yes, good day, Ashraf. You know, man, a week ago, I went to VFS office to submit for application. You know, you book and all those kind of things that you do. But there's something strange, man, happening there. There are people who are acting like as agents. I don't know whether they are prescribed or not prescribed. But these guys will come with a group of 10 individuals, go straight to inside the office without the dates. And the unfortunate part is that at VFS offices, you are not allowed to take pictures on your phone. But you can see money exchanging between the officials of VFS together with these individuals. I'm sorry to mention the name, but they look like guys from Nigeria. So one of the people who are submitting there will tell you that, no, I didn't book a date, but I just paid 10,000 and I got a date for this time and for that day. But whereas other people you must.
Can I do this, because it's very difficult to sort of conclude on this one. Yeah, let me give Keys some extra work. If you can just talk to Keys when we're done with me, my producer, right? Let's see between Keys and Temba if they can follow that story up. And actually, because I mean, what we need is some information, and then let's see if then we can follow up by chatting to Home Affairs about it, because I think it's an important one if it's true. But we need to just move away from speculation to actual fact. Anonymous, thank you for that. So please speak to Keys when we're done. Right, there's I need to read some of your text messages too, but there are so many comments about the soldiers too.
Good afternoon, SAFM. This issue of the soldiers is really bad. Now we are being tested here. The country is being tested. If we'll be saying bring back our soldiers, they must abandon the mission, it will be just a high level of cowardice. We need to reinforce. We need to send a message, our soldiers, to those rebels. I'm glad the retired general says we've got ammunition. Let's do what we're supposed to be doing from the onset. Really, we need to be decisive on this matter, one way or another. Otherwise, we'll be a laughingstock throughout the world.
Well, what does decisive really mean in this case here? Another comment about soldiers.
Shalom, Sheriff, this is wisdom. What we see is happening in DRC and many places as we coming from Israel and Palestine and many places in the world. To speak about the wars, the rumors of wars, the kingdoms against kingdoms. And we see this thing and we long for peace. It's unfortunately that as far as we are longing for peace, these things, they must happen. And we find ourselves already in the place where like there's no hope, because these things, they must happen. But what is the solution? Yeah, what can we do? It seems like there's nothing there, but there's one thing that I believe we can do. Do what you can in the time that you have, with the strength that you have. If it's to kick, it's to run, hard to hard, feet. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, it must happen. I don't know about it must happen. Further comments, Ashraf, let's say our brothers and sisters, we have no business to be in the DRC. Politicians are using poor employees to enrich themselves. Mr. Ramaphosa must withdraw South African soldiers from the DRC, period, from Alfred Khadebe and Kwakwa. I don't know about that either. You can't just withdraw and say it's not our business when you're part of peacekeeping. The question is just how well equipped are they? That's really the issue. Another one, lack of discipline in the SANDF is unbelievable. Soldiers sending WhatsApp messages to civilians about operating conditions. It's a no No. And just one last one before we get to the news. Ashraf, it's said that the caller is right about our country being the mockery of the world. We can never be great as we should be because the government is really incapable of making our country great because they have systemically destroyed every aspect of the country. Very, very sad. Kathy Joburg. Kathy, I love my country. I want us to become a champion nation, but I'm happy for anyone to show us the right way to get there because you're quite right about we have serious breakdown in many aspects of South African service delivery. We can't deny that, however patriotic one may be. In fact, talking about it is being patriotic. Let's get the news. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. ANC reacts to deaths of peacekeepers in the DRC and protests over nurse shortage in Limpopo. Good day to you. The ANC has called on the UN Security Council to act on attacks against UN peacekeepers in the DRC. 13 South African Defence Force soldiers were killed in less than a week in the DRC after being caught in the crossfire between M23 rebels and the DRC army. Briefing the media on the outcomes of the ANC's national Lekgotla in Johannesburg, the party's Secretary-General, Fikile Mbalula, condemned misleading reports surrounding the deaths of the soldiers.
These brave men and women paid the ultimate price in their service to peace and security on the African continent. The ANC salutes their courage, dedication and sacrifice in the fight for peace and stability. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families during this difficult time, and we wish a swift recovery to those injured in the attack. As a nation, we stand together in support of the SANDF and the families who have lost loved ones in this incident.
The family of one of the 13 soldiers killed in the DRC is still trying to come to terms with his death. Private Derek Maluleke was one of 9 Defence Force members who were killed on Friday in Goma. His brother, Simpson Maluleke.
As a family, we are very much sad because we lost one of the crucial member of the family and the member of the country, member of the community. So we are in a very painful situation whereby we just say God will help us to cope with whatever happened to this family. And Derek was a very good kind of a person, as I can say. He was very much open to everybody. He had a lot of friends. He was just an ordinary person who can...
The DA leader John Steenhuisen's criticised President Cyril Ramaphosa for not consulting with the government of National Unity partners on the Expropriation Act. He adds that Ramaphosa's failure to consult demonstrates that he's not being a good GNU partner.
So when you make decisions and you don't consult the rest of your party, the parties in the coalition, without even giving a courtesy call to the leaders, knowing how contentious the expropriation bill has been, knowing the fact that you received a 2-page submission from the Minister of Public Works with a legal opinion from senior counsel attached, pointing out the constitutional problems with the bill, and you simply go ahead and do it. And the leaders of your coalition found out about it on social media. That is not being a good steward or a good partner.
Residents outside Louis Trichardt and Limpopo are demonstrating against a lack of nurses and poor conditions at their local clinic. Residents say they're forced to wait in long queues due to staff shortages and are demanding that the clinic operates on a 24-hour basis. Community leader Shumani Maboko.
We have issues in the clinic. We only have one nurse that has to check all the sick people around the community. Some few years ago, we were given or promised a clinic that it will be newly built, but till today nothing has happened. The clinic now is very bad. It's not a working environment. Our people's health are at danger here. People have to go back home. Imagine waking up at 6 o'clock, going to queue, and then 6 o'clock in the evening, you are turned back and say the clinic is closing.
Workers of a security company contracted to guard both campuses of University of Zululand in KwaZulu-Natal are threatening to picket outside the university and shut down the campuses. This after a meeting with management of security and university officials to discuss their grievances did not materialize today. Guards are complaining that they're not always paid on time. They say they will be downing tools from tomorrow. The Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has arrived in Paris for the second leg of a one-day tour, aiming to win support for her country and its sovereignty over Greenland. US President Donald Trump has said the US should control the Arctic territory for the sake of global security, and he's refused to rule out using the military to acquire it. Frederiksen spoke to reporters.
We need a stronger and a more resolute Europe standing increasingly in its own right, capable of defending and promoting Europe and the European interests. It is up to Europe to define the future of our continent, and I think we have to take more responsibility for our own security, strengthening our defense industry.
The top story, the ANC's called on the UN Security Council to act on attacks against peacekeepers in the DRC. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Goos.
And coming up in your sports this hour, AB de Villiers announces return to cricket and Sundowns working to offload Thembinkosi Lodge. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound queuing through Crown Interchange towards Boysons. Marlborough Drive eastbound has delays towards Senior Drive. The N1 northbound in Midrand, slow moving towards Samrand Road. Old Johannesburg Road in Centurion has a crash at Weirder Road. And the N1 southbound in Pretoria, a crash near Linwood Road. In KZN, the M7 westbound in Pinetown is queuing near Hans Stetman Highway. The N3 eastbound has a crash after the M13 Paradise Valley interchange. The N3 westbound queuing towards Cliffdale and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is slow moving towards Okavango Road. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. Victoria Road is slow moving in that Camps Bay area, and Marine Drive northbound in Sunset Beach slow moving towards Ocean Way. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
All right, lots to reflect on. Oh my goodness, man. So let's get that one. There's so many. The DRC as one of them. The issue, obviously, of Janusz Walusz, right? Must talk about it and what he said and what he did not say. And I made the point yesterday. Unrepentant. And then what, right? And then today, the conversation we have now with Catherine Constantinidis. Listen to that one. By the way, there's about podcasts, there are podcasts of all the conversations we've had. Please make a point of listening to it, because if I can say that it was lit. Now, lit is a very, you know what I mean by lit, right? But it's a crazy word to use, because that confirmation from the head of Gauteng Disaster Management saying that the province, Gauteng, has 92 fire stations throughout the province. So 92 fire stations, not fire engines, fire stations. So that's fine. I don't know how many should be optimal, but 92. Then how many fire stations does Gauteng have if they've got 92 fire stations? How many fire engines do they have? They've only got 57. That's it. So it's almost like one in every second fire station is one. I understand they go on rotation. You know, like timeshare. You just go to different ones. So we are very compromised. So when we say we are on our own, that's exactly what it is. And that effectively is what happened to people like Catherine Constantinidis as well. Okay, let's get on to other issues now. The DA had a press conference where the party was discussing the recent political developments, and there really are other issues that are hot, you know that, as well as outlining their preparations for the upcoming local government elections. That follows the meeting of that all-important DA Federal Council, right? For more on this, let's get the thoughts of the DA National spokesperson, Willie Oukamp. Willie, appreciate you connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Always nice to speak to you.
Much appreciated. Right, so first things first, I mean, let's stay with the current political issues. And you know there are many things that the DA is central to, right? You have a position on this now. Maybe tell me about it.
Sorry, say again.
The current political issues that the DA commented on, including, of course, the issue of the government of national unity.
All right. Ashraf, we had our Federal Council meeting. As you know, our Federal Council is the highest decision-making body in between Congresses, and we had that meeting yesterday. So the main items on the agenda was firstly the local government elections of 2026, and our processes towards the approval and application of candidates to become councillors in the local government election. We have decided that our application period will start on the 1st of February, and we really want to encourage as many people out there as possible to apply to become councillors. We want to save and rescue South Africa, but we can't do it alone. We need the help of every single person out there. And if I can do a bit of advertising, I want to urge everybody that might be interested to go to www.da.org.za, and from the 1st of February, please apply. We need to make this a team effort.
Well, you know the best advert you're going to get for the DA is if it is seen in the country that the DA solves the problems of all the people of South Africa. And I suppose that would be your pitch, if you can do that.
That is exactly what we are trying to do in the Government of National Unity, and what we've already done wherever we govern. If you look at the work on that point, Ashraf, in the Government of National Unity, that the ministers from the DA has been doing, look at the exemplary work that the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, has been doing to cut back all these backlogs with regards to applications. I'm not even going to go into all the different applications, but I mean the visa applications and the process that is being put in place for ID applications, etc.
Okay.
I mean,
so can I ask you this? Because I mean, this is the point, and obviously we're not going to discuss the manifestos now. I mean, that chance will come down the line, right?
Sure.
But here's the point that I remember talking to Keys and Temba, my producers, at the time of the GNU being formed. I said the minority political parties, of which the DA is one of the majority of the minority parties, one of the largest ones, right, will use the GNU as a huge shop window to prove to all of us, supporters or skeptics, what they can do. And the fact that they actually going to be in actual positions of decision making through the various ministries that you've referred to gives them that shop window that they've never had before. Clearly, that's what you're just talking about, isn't it? That's primarily why it's that important that the DA is part of the GNU. You have a shop window that you won't have if you're not part of the GNU.
That is secondary to the primary objective of rescuing South Africa. But I agree with you, that definitely help us to show people out there that we really mean business. The main object must be to rescue South Africa, Ashraf. And these ministers are doing what they are doing, not to score points for themselves or score points for their party. That is secondary. They are doing what they're doing to really rescue this country. And if you look at the work that they have been doing, as well as that what we've been doing in the Western Cape as a province where we've governed now for many years, and the city of Cape Town and various other towns over the country. If you look at Midvaal and you compare Midvaal to the ANC-run municipality right next to it, it's a difference like between day and night. So we have been doing that all along. The GNU gives us the opportunity to now do that on a national level, and that is what we are doing. We are bringing change and helping to rescue this country.
And that brings me then to the very current question, right, which is, for all the reasons you've mentioned above, that is why the DA now cannot be out of the GNU.
The reason that we want to stay within this GNU is because we really believe that this is the best option for South Africa at this current moment. It would be nice to govern outright, but let's be honest with each other. That is not going to happen anytime soon, and I think we are going to sit with a government of national unity and coalition governments for many, many, many years to come. So we've got to learn in the coalition environment, Ashraf, to become more there must be adults in the room when you sit around a table with other parties. And the Democratic Alliance are really, we have approached this government of national unity with an open mind, knowing that we will not get everything that we want. But I think it is high time that the ANC realizes that they are not governing alone anymore. They cannot carry on and imagine or think it is still the sixth parliament and they've got a majority of the votes and they can carry on as they like. They don't. They received 40% of the vote.
But do you think do you think they are carrying on as if they're on their own, that they're leading on their own? Does it come across?
Well, it seems like that. Unfortunately, it does. Yes.
Okay.
It seems as if they really like to brag. The president like to brag with the government of national unity on the international stage in Davos and in other places, but back at home is just trying to steamroll through old ANC ideologies, and that will not happen on our watch.
Okay.
I can promise you.
So based on what's happened regarding the issue of the expropriation bill or act and what's come out of that, I mean, I've noticed that there's lots of debate about, every few weeks we have some issue. It's the Bella bill, it's the expropriation bill, and then we wonder, well, is that the end of the GNU, right? And now I think the DA, and I'm quoting, the DA recommits to the GNU. So firstly, why was there a need to recommit? What that means, was it under discussion to actually walk out, and therefore there was a need to recommit?
It's not a matter of recommitting. It's a matter of confirming that we are committed. We've been committed from the beginning. If you have to recommit, it means that there was a certain point that you were not committed. We confirmed that we are committed to this government of national unity. The problem, however, is that everybody is expecting us to save this government of national unity, and we will obviously try our utmost best to do it. But I think, Ashraf, it is high time that the ANC and President Ramaphosa also show that they also want to save this government of national unity. And they will be showing that to the people the moment that he does not go on a stage and talk about his plans to go through with the National Democratic Revolution program under the government of national unity. And statements like that is not acceptable. It has never been agreed that that would be the case.
Okay.
What was agreed in the statement of intent was that there must be sufficient consensus within the GNU, and not what the president said over the last few days. So we are committed to the GNU, definitely.
So just to confirm, because I don't want to misquote you, has there been a moment when within the GNU that the ANC, that the DA, I need to be very clear about it, within the GNU, the DA has there been moments when the DA has not been committed to the GNU and therefore the need to recommit?
No, not at all. The DA has been committed to the GNU all the time.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of recommitting. It's a matter of confirming our commitment. We are in this to the benefit of all South Africans, and that is not something that we took lightly, that decision. So, no, Ashraf, it's not a matter of recommitting.
Well, that's why it is important to clear that up right now. The other part, and you've just mentioned it as well, about, you will not tolerate being mere spectators to the ANC, right? So, assuming that they continue their way and it comes across that you are spectators, that there's a semblance of unity when they speak to the global audience, but at home they effectively push a line and do what they want, out of sync with what the GNU has agreed upon, right? So what happens then? When you say you won't tolerate, what would you do?
Well, Ashraf, the moment that you are in a situation where you can't make a difference and where you are in a coalition but you are not being listened to, then you've got to go. If you can't make a difference in this government of national unity, and if the policies that the DA believe in and the ideas that we put forward are not being listened to at all, then you've got to go.
So many may think, I think even the DA would suggest that you're not being listened to regarding the Expropriation Act.
Well, there were several issues that we believe that could have been handled much better by the President and the ANC. The Expropriation Act is one of them. In the Expropriation Act, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson, advised the President of the legal opinion that he obtained. He advised the President on constitutionality issues. The President refused to agree with him there, and he just went through and signed the bill without even letting the minister know, listen, Mr. McPherson, I'm going to sign this on this date, prepare yourself for that. It did not happen. So that is unacceptable.
All right, so on that basis, to quote you now, when you've said if they don't listen to you, then you got to go. And I'm not suggesting you must, but then is it not time where you got to go?
Yeah, well, listen, every hill is not the hill to die on. And there will be compromises that needs to be made, and we were totally unhappy with how this thing was handled, and that is why we announced that we are enforcing clause 19.3 of the Memorandum of Understanding, which talk about sufficient consensus. The leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen, requested a meeting with the President, and they are meeting tonight. So there will be a conversation between the leaders of the two majority parties in the Government of National Unity, the two largest parties, and hopefully they can come to an understanding. The thing is just, Ashraf, that I repeat again, you can't die on every hill. You've got to choose your hill where you've got to make your last stand. And we know that there are issues that we can handle and that we will be able to negotiate with the ANC. But there must be a willingness from the ANC to show that as well. Let me give you an idea with regards to the NHI. The NHI is definitely going to negatively touch the lives of every South African. We've put forward our ideas around how we can do that. The DAR for universal healthcare, that's it, but not under the way in which the ANC wants to do that.
Okay.
Will that be a hill to die on? Maybe it will. We've got to see, and we've got to see the commitment from the ANC to really start and to realize that they do not have a majority anymore. Ashraf, one last thing from my side.
Yeah.
It's very important to know that there will be places in the beginning of this GNU where we've got to iron out issues. It's like a marriage. You've got to learn to live with each other, and we are in that process, and we believe and hope that the ANC will also come to that realization.
Well, you're still on honeymoon, as many may suggest. Let me ask you this very quickly then, to go back to the introduction ahead of the next election, right? So two things very quickly. One, what is the expectation of the DA at that local election, this very important election, and at this point in time, there's a call out for you, besides asking people to vote for you. I understand that part. But there's a call out in terms of new recruits to become part of the party. So let me give you that chance to say just that in the minute you've got.
All right. Firstly, I think the honeymoon is over. Secondly, to come to this point, the Democratic Alliance is a party that is an open opportunity society party, and that is why we have put out this invitation to all the South Africans out there. We've got a lot of people that can and want to become involved in South Africa in this rescue mission. And it's not to say that all of those people are members of the DA. There might be people that are not, but that is why this is an open invitation. Come, be part of the solutions for our country. The Democratic Alliance, Ashraf, is world-renowned for the processes that we go through with regards to candidate selection. We've got the system in place, the blue machine as we call it, and we therefore give this invitation to people that are serious about rescuing South Africa to come and assist us. We cannot do this alone, and we want to take hands with every single person in South Africa that want to assist us in that mission.
Let's see how convincing you may be. Let me end by what you just said just now. I have to ask you this. You are saying, in your opinion, the honeymoon is over. You are referring to the GNU honeymoon being over, but the marriage still is intact.
That's correct, Ashraf. We always, tongue-in-cheek, refer to a honeymoon period, but we have, it's the turn of a new year. We've got to carry on with this GNU. We've got to save this GNU, because the alternative of what we've currently got is unthinkable. It is unthinkable to think that you might have the MK and the EFF and the ANC in a government.
Okay.
We've got to save this, and we've got to do everything in our power, but we will definitely not do it at all costs.
Let's leave it at that, Willie Ocamp. Of course, I think everybody's going to respond to that point. The honeymoon is over. Willie Ocamp, DA National Spokesperson. Is that true? The honeymoon is over.
Night Talk with Oliver Dixon.
When leaders need to account, we call on them. When society needs to debate, reflect, and advance, we're here to have the conversation. Join me, Oliver Dixon, on Night Talk every Monday to Thursday from 10 to 12 midnight.
This summer, SABC brings us together anytime, anywhere. Catch all the drama, entertainment, and sport on SABC TV. Turn up the volume with your favorite hits and shows on SABC Radio. Stream wherever you are with SABC Plus and join the fun at unmissable SABC events near you. From breaking news to moments that move us, SABC is your companion for every summer memory. Celebrate a summer of togetherness with SABC, your home for connection, entertainment, and inspiration. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so perhaps you want to comment about what the DA said about the GNU. Perhaps you'll comment about the lack of fire engines in the Gauteng region, as per the chat with Catherine Constantinidis and the head of disaster management in the Gauteng region. Or the DRC, sure, Janos Valdus. Can I think of more things that moves the national pulse? Of course there is. There's the issue of the African National Congress. Now, their Secretary General is Fikile Mbalula, and he's been addressing the media today on the outcomes of the ANC's National Lekgotla, which took place over the weekend. Remember, very busy time for them to put their plans together for the year. So first things first, as was expected, he would comment on other current affairs issues, including the situation in the DRC.
We didn't send our soldiers to war. We sent them to maintain peace. So if we send them to war, you will see grip in them. So if people attack us, we will go this direction of Pretoria in the afternoon. In 30 seconds, everything will done. So there are terms in terms of peace mission that our countries agree to. And those terms include the fact that what armament are you giving in and all of that. And so that those are the things that need to be looked at in relation to the peace mission. So countries are guided in this regard about that.
Then Mbalula spoke about, as the DA has just done now, all ahead of that next election, the local government election, the ANC's recruitment drive.
The ANC has committed to campaigns to recruit and retain members who are committed to the vision, mission and values of the movement. This will not only ensure that the ANC continues to have a broad base of support, but also that it remains a dynamic organization that can effectively respond to the changing needs and concerns of the people. The ANC will invest in campaigns that attract new members and provide platforms for dialogue, debate, and unity within the movement. Political education remains a central pillar of ANC renewal.
And then, of course, he spoke about, water is a big issue in the country, and then the water tankers that are supposed to be there to provide relief. Some may say they intentionally get put out there in terms of tenders. Well, Mbalula speaks about, how's this phrase, the existence of the water tank mafia.
A dedicated task team in government will oversee the development and maintenance of water resource systems to ensure that all communities have access to clean and potable water. The existence of water tank mafias, illegal connections, and vandalizing of infrastructure must be tackled without any reservations. This will also include tackling the inefficiencies and corruption that often delay service delivery. The ANC understands that infrastructure is a vital pillar of economic growth, and we are committed to ensuring that all South Africans, regardless of where they live, have access to the services they need.
Of course, what about, remember the load shedding that was going to end the very next day after the election? Well, Mbalula can reflect on the fact that it's 300 days now with no official load shedding.
One of the key resolutions from this Lekgotla is the urgent need to accelerate energy security, starting with the stabilization of Eskom. We welcome the work achieved thus far to stabilize energy availability with over 300 days of uninterrupted supply of electricity. We once more thank the team of patriotic South Africans working at Eskom for their dedication in resolving this issue under the leadership of the Minister of Energy and Electricity. The ANC has committed to a bold plan to address the energy availability, including expediting the rollout of renewable energy as part of a just energy transition. Eskom's challenges are being resolved, and it will contribute to economic recovery, industrialization, and job creation. We welcome the work being done with local government and ESCOM to resolve the challenges of debt and load reduction.
And then finally, he spoke about the party's investment, again, looking ahead to the local government election.
Also resolved to invest in the political and administrative leadership at the local government level by focusing on building the leadership capacity of local government officials. Will ensure that the municipalities are better equipped to address the needs of their communities. Stronger leadership and effective governance at local government will improve service delivery and contribute to the overall goal of creating a better South Africa for all. Lekgotla also welcomes the process of review of the local architecture and the funding model. An example in this instance is our interventions and what government has done in eThekwini municipality. The ANC deployed one of its best cadres in Comrade Cyril Xaba, a former member of the National Assembly, a member of the National Executive Committee, to stabilize eThekwini. And you can see for yourselves, you had wonderful holidays in Durban this past December, because of the efforts and the focused leadership of Cyril Xaba, working with the collective in eThekwini. This is the model we seek to employ across our municipalities.
The ANC's Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula. Welcome. Your thoughts from about 5:45. We'll take all your calls and your comments as well. Let's get the news headlines. It's just gone 5:30.
A quick look at the headlines. This hour, the Defence Minister will brief the nation tomorrow on the death of 13 Defence Force members in the DRC in recent days. South African households collectively spent an estimated 3 trillion rand between November 2022-23, and helicopters in Jordan have started flying aid into Gaza for the first time since the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas started. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview has a crash at Giluli's interchange, queuing traffic on both routes. The R21 northbound in Kempton Park has a crash before the R25 Babsfontein Road exit. The N17 eastbound in Boksburg has a crash before the Rondeboult Road exit in Pretoria. The N1 southbound has a crash near Linwood Road, and the N1 southbound has a stationary vehicle before Rigel Avenue. In KZN, the N3 westbound, a stationary truck before Cliffdale. The N3 eastbound queuing towards Ashburton. The M7 westbound in Pinetown has a truck crash near Hans Detman Highway, and the N3 eastbound, a crash after the M13 Paradise Valley interchange. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M7 checks Havel Drive southbound queuing towards the R300 highway. The N1 outbound has a crash before the R300 highway, and the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Tumi, you know your ABCs. In fact, you know your ABs, right? Tell me about your AB.
Absolutely. Well, former South African cricketing superstar AB de Villiers is set to make a remarkable return to the field after nearly 4 years. He's going to captain the Game Changers, or for the Game Changers South Africa champions in the second edition of the World Championship of Legends. The WCL, a high-profile T20 featuring retired and non-contracted cricket legends, will showcase some of the game's most iconic players. Now, de Villiers says that his sons have started playing cricket, and he feels that it kind of ignited a flame of him playing cricket again. And I must say, I am excited to see him back on the field again.
So, to confirm, I know he quit international cricket, right? Then he played in the IPL. Did he quit IPL? Because I'm a bit naive on this one. Did he stop playing even IPL?
I think at a later stage, yes, he did quit.
Okay.
But now he's back.
But I mean, but this tournament. I mean, tell me more about the tournament.
So basically, it's for legends,
Yeah.
and anyone that is not contracted at all.
Yeah.
And
And then how long does this go on for? Like, Is it a weekend? Is it a whole season? What?
I think it's a short period of time. I'll just get the right...
Because I'm just wondering, and this is just me being critical, it's like, if they're saying he's back, it's almost like, I mean, I'd love him to play for the South African cricket team. He's that good, right? But my point is, if it's like a weekend tournament, then you have these testimonials where, they have the legends playing for the week. That's not back. I'm just asking.
Listen, he wasn't playing at all. And on a competitive level.
No, but I mean, I can think of also other players in all sports who don't play even for 5-10 years. Then they play for the weekend as a testimonial for one of their players. That doesn't mean they're actually back. Well, find out, therefore, what's the nature of this tournament? Is it every week? Is it just one weekend? What? Because that makes the difference. I'd love to know.
Meanwhile, Pretoria Capitals won the toss and they will field first. Joburg Super Kings currently sitting fourth on the points table with 3 wins in 7 games. And Pretoria Capitals have had a dismal season, managing just 1 win in 7 matches, and they sit 5th in the table. In football, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce says on paper Egypt could be their biggest threat in the Africa Cup of Nations Group B. Bafana were drawn in the same group as Egypt, Angola and Zimbabwe, and Bruce says that they will do everything to make sure that they do better than the previous AFCON. Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns have reportedly offered attacker Thembinkosi Lodge to Wydad Athletic Club. It's been widely reported that Lodge is unsettled at Kloorkop following the departure of coach Rulani Mukwena, who had insisted on the player being signed for an undisclosed fee. According to SABC Sport, Sundowns would rather sell or agree a loan deal to Wydad than strengthen Kaizer Chiefs, who have expressed a strong interest in taking Lodge permanently. Elsewhere, Pep Guardiola has confirmed that Jeremy Doku will miss Manchester City's Champions League decider against Arsenal tomorrow due to an injury. Doku missed City's Champions League defeat to Paris Saint-Germain last week and Saturday's league win over Chelsea. And City are 25th going into their final group game, with the top 8 teams qualifying automatically for the knockout stages and teams from 9th to 24th going into a playoff. In rugby, the pressure is on England ahead of the Six Nations campaign, where only a change in fortunes will do for head coach Steve Borthwick. England have lost 7 of their last 10 tests, including 3 on the spin in the autumn at Alliance Stadium. If Borthwick is to prove that he's the right man to lead the side in the new World Cup cycle, then England have to start winning. And they have an opening clash against Ireland before France and then Scotland travel to Twickenham, with the potential to create more problems for Borthwick. In basketball, Jimmy Butler has been suspended indefinitely by the Miami Heat after a continued pattern of disregard of team rules. The 6-time NBA All-Star had already been suspended twice by his team this month for disciplinary issues, ruling him out of 9 matches. And Heat said that he walked out of a team practice on Friday and has now been suspended again without pay. And they said that the suspension is indefinite, but will last no fewer than 5 games. On that note, it is a wrap from my side.
And I'm thinking about A.B. de Villiers, and I'm wondering which other sportsman retired too early. Can you think of others? Like which sportsman overstayed his limit? No question about it. Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali should have retired after he defeated Leon Spinks. Well, no. In fact, I think he should have retired after he beat Joe Frazier in that 3rd fight. That was it. He had no reason to fight after that. But then he overstayed his visit. Lost to Spinks, regained it, then got beaten by Larry Holmes. He was wasting his time. Which sportsman retired too early?
Too early?
Yeah, like A.B. de Villiers would be one of them. I mean, are there any others?
Yes, of course. I'm just thinking of a young player who I think is going to retire too early. I think he had a lot of potential. However, injury messed him up.
Which is?
Neymar.
Okay. Too much diving, but let me not go there. Right, more sport. You can tell me, by the way, which sportsman at the peak of his career retired too early, not because of injury, but just retired. You want to say your goodbyes? Because we do get listeners saying, if Tumi doesn't say goodbye the way we want it, then we have a problem. Yeah.
Owning a small or medium-sized business takes courage, skill, and determination. The Clientele Legal Business Plan is there to protect, guide, and assist your business in managing the legal risks.
Let us handle your labor matters, employment contracts, CCMA referrals, and so much more. Our team of professional lawyers are standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 42770. That's SAFM to 42770. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
There will be joy and heartbreak at the Groenkloof Tennis Stadium in Pretoria. South Africa takes on Nigeria. The South is up against the West. This is the Davis Cup World Group 2 tie, the World Cup of tennis. Witness the spectacular tennis battle between South Africa and Nigeria on Saturday 1 February at 11 a.m. and Sunday 2 February at 10:30 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. You can also catch the Sunday action on SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, the SAFM market update comes up at 6 o'clock. Lots to cover, of course. But Duru, you're holding the fort once again. You have all the numbers, so go for it.
Indeed, thank you very much. And someone who also has the numbers, Ashraf, is our resident contributor, Henku Kriel. Henku, a very good evening to you. How did we perform today?
Hello, Dudu and Ashraf. Good evening to our listeners. Today was a much better day in comparison to yesterday. You'll recall that yesterday most world markets traded in the red and was in the negative territory, but today it's really nice to see that everything is back in the green. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 at the moment 0.3% up, and the Nasdaq 0.7% stronger. And then European stocks, they finished well into the green a short while ago. The FTSE 100 gained 0.6% today, the DAX 0.5% up, and the CAC 40 there in France finished the day 0.2% stronger. The JSE's All-Share Index finished 0.3% stronger today, and it climbed to a higher level of 84,448 points. Then the Industrial Index gained 0.7%, and the Financial Index finished 0.6% stronger, but the Resources Index was on the losing side today because it lost 1.1%. Some companies that gave strong performances today were Exxaro, Sappi, and Mr. Price. They each gained 4%, and then Boxer, Vukile, and Clicks each gained 2.5%, followed by Tiger Brands and Absa, which each finished the day 2% stronger. On the losing side, today at least, were Alphaman, Montauk, and South32. Alphaman lost 12%, followed by Montauk Renewable Energies, which finished 6% weaker, and South32, as I mentioned, 4.5% down, followed by Sibanye Stillwater, Italtal, Karoo, and another big one, Glencore, each losing 3% today. Then if we have a look at how the rand is trading against other currencies around the world at the moment, you'll pay 18 Rand 70 for a US dollar, 19 Rand 50 for a euro, 11 Rand 69 for an Australian dollar, and 23 Rand and 23 cents for a British pound. The price of gold is $2,757 an ounce, and silver still trading at $30.30. Platinum is $940 and palladium $960 an ounce. Nice to see that the oil price is coming down, now sitting at $76.50 a barrel. The price for Bitcoin is $103,000, and that is still 1,960,000 Rand. And Dudu, that's how the markets performed today.
Henku Kriel, thank you very much for your contribution. Henku Kriel is MoneyWeb's contributor. And here's what you can look forward to come 6 p.m. on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb. We're going to be speaking to Lyndon Burns, founder of Plain Talking, because today the Airports Company of South Africa gave an update in terms of how they fared over the festive season, painting a rather rosy picture. However, we do know about the jet fuel shortages, so he's going to be speaking to us about how far we are with resolving that. We're also going to be speaking to the Board of Healthcare Funders, and they will be responding to the Competition Commission's application to have its members exempted from Section 4 of Chapter 2 of the Competition Act and rejecting that from the side of the Competition Commission. They'll tell us what options are now available to them. We're also going to be speaking to Nedbank about whether customers are aware of the rules and regulations of using your credit or debit card when you make make international transactions, i.e. gambling. Do you know that if you gamble using your credit card issued in South Africa, internationally to gamble, that money could be confiscated, because there are rules that need to be adhered to when it comes to the Reserve Bank and SARS. And so Nedbank will be talking to us about that, and we're going to be talking about the university admissions crisis as well as the proposed fuel legislation that is causing some headaches for farmers. We'll find out why at 6 p.m. Ashraf Garda, it's back to you. Thank you so much.
Well, gambling and using your cards. I never thought about that at all. Only because I don't gamble at all, so I don't think about that either.
There you go.
Never even crossed my mind. But you raise an interesting point. Can you imagine that? Making all that money is like, thank you very much. 100% is ours. Yeah, complicated.
Sure. Tough,
okay,
yeah.
enjoy your show 6 to 7 tonight here, the SAFM Market Update. Fascinating show as per always. Right, we'll get your calls in a few minutes' time. But as Dudu has alluded to, we're going to get an update on what's happening at the Airports Company now.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, so the Airports Company has reported a 91% year-to-date passenger traffic recovery, with airports welcoming 3.55 million passengers from the period 1st of December 2024 to the 16th of Jan, so like a couple of weeks back. Let's get more on that with Katlego Legori, who's been covering that story from Captain Park. Katlego, good chatting to you. Hi.
Very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to our listeners at home.
Okay, this sounds interesting. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you look at it, AXA has been in the news since December for the wrong reasons. If I can take you back to November, when we saw that there was a valve issue that affected their operations in terms of flights, and we see them going into the festive season just with a little bit of uncertainty in terms of whether some of those challenges from last year would rear their ugly heads going into the busy peak festive season. So today they were giving us a breakdown of their numbers from the 1st of December 2024 to the 16th of January 2025. So we see them just giving us a sense of growth in terms of their performance here amid some of the challenges that they experienced here. You're right to say that they gave us a figure of 91%, and this 91%, Ashraf, is a figure that they throw back to pre-COVID days, looking at the recovery. So most of these organizations are still trying to navigate and push for recovery where the COVID-19 pandemic is concerned, and AXA is no different here. But really also, if I can bring you closer to where we find ourselves now, we see them really experiencing some challenges in terms of their jet fuel supply, and that issue of the lack of security thereof, just more or less spooking a lot of people, spooking a lot of stakeholders. But AXA today giving us a sense of the fact that they are really pushing for recovery, and they're working with the ministry to ensure that this challenge around jet fuel becomes a thing of the past.
Well, pushing for recovery is not the same as actually succeeding in getting recovery. Let's leave it at that. Thank you. I'm sure there'll be lots more conversation around that. Well, starting with Dudu's show coming up just now on that same issue, and then maybe for the rest of the shows sometime tomorrow. Thanks for that, and that is Katlego Legori. Right, your calls, your thoughts, whatever it is, your reflections of the mood of the National Pulse comes up next.
Outsurance has another random fact for you. In 1998, 500 grams of sugar cost about 3 Rand. Now, it's about 20 Rand. There's nothing sweet about how the cost of living has gone up. But even in times like these, Outsurance is committed to saving you money on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 for a quick and easy way to save. Let's hear what Rosemary has to say about the saving on her 2019 Ford Figo.
I phoned into Outsurance to get a quote. They were super efficient, super quick. I'm saving 421 Rand a month. I'll stick my neck out and tell them to phone Outsurance.
Enjoy life-saving services like Help It Out with 24/7 access to panic assistance, roadside assistance, and home assistance with just a tap on the app. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. Limits apply. T's and C's online.
Level up your career with UNISA SPL. Apply for our prestigious programs designed to elevate you to the next level. Whether it's a postgraduate diploma in business administration, PGD in project management, PGD in supply chain management, or stepping up to an MBA, MBL, or DBL, we have the program to help you achieve your goals. Applications are open until 31 January 2025. Apply now at unisa.ac.za/SPL. UNISA SPL, inspiring leaders who go beyond boundaries.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, lots to consider, in fact, in terms of your comments. We'll get to the calls in a second. Yes, some things. We don't have water days, no water tankers from Chatsworth, thank you. And another one, Ashraf, I don't think Imbalula was listening to himself when he talked about the DRC peacekeeping mission. I'm sure if his brother was one of those killed soldiers down there, he would change his tune. Coming to the shortage of water tankers around Gauteng, we should not even be surprised, because this government has done very, very little in every implementation except for making notice and clapping hands for themselves. All they did was to destroy, with the help of their voters, everything the apartheid regime has built. Now we are far behind from the starting point forward, Tommy, in East London. And there's more. Okay, I think some of the other ones we've sorted out already. We'll try and read. Let me just read two more. South African Army, would they survive in Haiti and Mali as peacekeeping forces? And another one, Ashraf, we must respond to Rwanda. We must fight Rwanda and discipline them. I support the ex-mayor, Major General of the SANDF. We must stop massaging insults from these small countries. Rwanda ambassadors must go today. They must go from South Africa. And another one, I don't know if General Motaro is suggesting that the SANDF should attack Rwanda, but I think he knows that that will be irresponsible, given that the mission is a peacekeeping mission and South Africa cannot be part of the problem in Africa. We all don't know what the president said to Kagame, but for some reason, General Motaro comes to the conclusion that it was a sweet talk between them. Okay, and maybe just the last one, AU is dead, SADC is a toothless bulldog led by illegitimate old people from Fidel. And the last one, I also don't understand how we hear and understand what people say. The SANDF spokesman said the issue of withdrawal can only be discussed at a political level and not by the Defence Force. Now, the newsreader is giving an impression that the decision to withdraw has been taken and will be discussed at a practical level. That is a total misrepresentation, false and misleading. He didn't say that. Okay, that's your thoughts. Let's get to some of the callers. Kandisa in Matlosana, go for it.
Good evening.
Yeah, very good indeed. Your line's not so great, so make it short. Go for it.
Good. I think ANC, after the quota, they must do thorough research on municipalities, because it's been a long time as people, as communities, they say to us they are going to fix these municipalities. But we see always this broad church is continuing of corruption in those municipalities, especially here in the West. I think ANC, they must appoint mayors who have capability and who are respected, not friends of members of ANC. We are members of ANC, but we know what is happening in this field.
Okay, your lines. I'm going to leave it there, Kandisa. We're not hearing you very clearly, unfortunately, man. So we just can't continue with it. I just can't pick up. We can't pick up the things you've said. I mean, I heard you talk about the ANC, so we have to leave it there. My apology for that, right? Klabirwa has got a thought on the ANC, well, DA, not GNU, coalition. Go for it.
Yes, thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you.
Look, man, I just want to make a comment on the spokesperson of the DA. Yeah, it's just grandstanding. You know, those two bills now that they've been there and yes. NHR, for example, and expropriation bill, for example, they've been there and they've passed, they went all through the processes. And they knew when they entered the GNU what they were expected. But now, especially with the expropriation bill, because they have to please their white supporters, they want to be shown as if they are doing something. But well known that there is nothing that they can do. So for them, it's just grandstanding. And if they actually wanted to leave the GNU, they have to leave.
Well, I think he's basically confirmed they're not going to leave, because I think, as I told him, is like they can't do without each other at the moment. That's the truth. They can argue all day long, but they can't do without each other.
No, that isn't correct. The ANC
You
can
think
do
so?
without them. Yeah, the ANC can do without them. And they know that if they leave, they're gone. So there's nothing that they can do. The ANC can do without them. The EF or the MK, they can come in and then do the job.
But do the ANC want that? I mean, we don't know. You know, do they really want to deal with the EFF and the MK party? Do they really want to do that? I don't know. I'm not convinced.
That's one we don't know yet.
Well, that's my
But
point.
what
We
I'm
don't
saying-
know.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the DA, if they want to leave, they can leave. There's nothing that is stopping them. They can make all the threats, all the headlines with regard to the expropriation bill they like. But they know that there is nothing that they can
But
do.
I'm going to have to let it go. What's stopping them is what I asked the spokesperson earlier. They know that being in the GNU gives them a window to show how they can govern certain departments, and that is a way to convince you and I, if we want to be convinced, to vote for them. They don't want to lose that window. That's the bottom line. Klabirwa, thanks for that. Let's get another quick caller, Ephraim in Alex. Let's talk about e-hailing, yeah?
Ashraf, how's it?
I'm good, man. Go for it.
We are very disappointed, Ashraf, about the MMC of Transport in Tshwane, Mama Trankhimwag. Her statement when she says illegal immigrants are making the backlog of the permits not to come out. I mean, that is I don't understand how to call that statement. How can you say it's illegal? Somebody's illegal, he or she don't have the documents. Then how could he go to the entity and apply? What's the logic there? Are they shifting the blame for themselves to others? Or what are they doing? Or they want to continue impounding our cars in Tshwane so that they can make a lot of money and corruption that is happening there? Ashraf, we are very disappointed. Can, if we have chance, call her to come on SFM and clarify her statement. What is she saying? Because this is a crucial statement from the MMC.
All
and
right.
she don't even know how to apply the permit, what I know.
All right,
I know.
point made. I think we must follow up again. Extra homework for Keys and Temba. They must follow it up. Thank you so much for that. Right. Okay. Lots of other comments that was based upon the conversations we've had here on the National Pulse. It certainly does get heated up, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Matebola. Ashraf, sometimes DA leader need to be asked, are you talking as a DA leader or are you talking as a cabinet minister? The question must be asked to him, because now he's always running around talking as a DA leader. He's forgetting that he's in the current administration. But when it comes to DRC, it seems like a lot of people, we are just commenting. We doesn't even know the criteria of those soldiers, the commanders. What are they saying? We're blaming Ramaphosa for something that it doesn't even belong to him. Good afternoon, this is Matebola. Ashraf.
Well, thanks for that. Okay, you're right about Ramaphosa. It doesn't belong to him, but you're wrong about Ramaphosa because he does belong to him. He's the man in charge. But what we don't know, and you're quite right, we don't really know the inner workings of the criteria. So we can't say because some people got killed, okay, it's Ramaphosa's fault. We don't really know. I mean, even when you are fully equipped, you still get killed as well, excepting there's been confirmation from within the ruling party, do I say that? Ruling party? No, they're in collaboration. The ANC, as per the conversation yesterday with Malusi Gigaba, that in fact they were ill-equipped. Now that's coming from within the ANC.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I stand with the guy who says, we must, go back to, we must send more troops to, DRC, just to make a point that, hey, you don't touch our guys, because now they're testing us, and the next time they'll be here by our borders, doing as they wish. So unless if maybe they got a message from the West that, hey, just push those guys there, push them, I want to see something, you never know.
But I mean, it's not really about South Africa, is it? South Africa's in the wave that the army, but it's not. It's a DRC, East DRC argument.
Hi, Ashraf. Khalish Mawsela from Mokopane. It has always been my suspicion that some of our leaders are having shares or operations in mines and companies in these other countries, including the DRC. That is why they are sending soldiers there to protect their interests. Thank you very much.
Okay, and there's more. Let's just wrap up with a couple more we can play.
As long as
they have someone who hasn't a clue about the Defence Force or anything like that in charge, this is the type of thing that's going to happen. If I remember correctly, I think the guy in charge of the American Defence Force is like a 4-star general. With no disrespect, what does Angie Motshekga know about running an army? Put people in that actually know what they're doing. Anyway, that's my view.
Okay, although I will say, a lot of the Americans, when they've run their departments, haven't done too well. Look at their foreign policy. Just think about it.
The ESCOM non-load shedding 300 days. Well, ESCOM is trying its best to do better. But at the same time, more companies and affluent households are leaving the ESCOM grid. They are producing their own energy, some with solar, some with turbines and other things, at a cheaper rate. And the more people who are leaving are those who are affording to pay, and to leave ESCOM with the Zinyoka illegal connection, people who cannot afford to pay, which means ESCOM is going to collapse. It will never be sustainable. So they're not necessarily doing good, because the good is because some of the people who are leaving the grid, and it seems like they're winning the battle. They're losing the battle, in fact. ESCOM will not be sustainable like Post Office, like SAA.
Okay,
go under.
That's a point made before. Please keep them less than 30 seconds or up to 30 max. Here's the last one I can play.
Good day, Ashraf. Citizen from Blue. This issue of the Defence Force needs to be dealt with in the manner that it deserves. The Minister of Defence sent our troops there ill-equipped, so the buck stops with her. She must do the right thing now. One, either take out our troops from there, or two, go and attack. If she knows anything about the strategy that is involved in military, she will choose the first option. But seeing that we have people who are running the country, but they don't want to take responsibility, we might end up with our troops dying for nothing that side. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's the show. Thank you so much for listening in. And let's stay tuned. The National Pulse continues throughout the day, not just on the show. So what are we going to talk about tomorrow? Let's see and find out what moves the National Pulse. Let's get the news now. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg Hose.
Thank you again, Ashraf. In this news update, ministers speak on deaths of peacekeepers in the DRC, and Jordan flies aid into Gaza. Good evening. The Defence Minister, Angie Motshekga, will brief the nation tomorrow on the deaths of 13 South African National Defence Force members killed in the DRC in recent days. This is revealed by the ANC's Secretary-General, Fikile Mbalula, while briefing the media on the outcomes of the party's National Lekgotla, which took place over the weekend.
Our soldiers in the DRC are there for a peacekeeping mission. They are not acting alone. They are acting with others within the realm of the